to announce the launch of our new logo. We have evolved since our incorporation in 1997, and it is time to refresh our new look to reflect who we are today. Before I reveal our new look, however, walk with me while I take you through our journey of the last 25 years. Trust Bank was incorporated on July 3rd, 1997 and began operations on October 1st, 1997. Following the collapse of the parent company of its predecessor, Meridian, the CBG stepped in and recapitalized the bank and held the shares in trust, thus the name Trust Bank. In 1999, the first investors who responded to the IPO and paid $1 So, we remain true to who we have always been. As we look forward to greater achievements, we are rebranding to reflect who we are today and the future that we inspire. Our new logo has been designed to visually demonstrate our Gambian heritage and the sophisticated nature of the bank. We are moving away from the navy and gold-colored parallelogram-shaped logo to our baobab tree with a rising sun in the background. The striking outline of a baobab tree at sunrise is a familiar sight to anyone who has spent time in the Gambia. Our new logo and visual identity are inspired by our core values and spirit of being a pioneer in providing a unique banking experience. It is a completely new look that better matches the transformation we have made as a company. But we remain your Trust Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to present to you our new logo and corporate identity.
National dialogue is because a government must be responsive to the needs of its people.
Tell you one thing, if me as an individual, if I know that there is somebody that I just made it wrong, I will be bold enough. I will go to the party. I will appeal to him and apologize him.
I have to make decision today because I don't make decisions at night. I investigate. I do my research. I get the facts. I call the experts. I summon meetings. I get the technicians. Then I reflect. Then I make a decision.
Why did you lose the election?
Well, we lost the election because of equipment registration. We had evidence of people being registered before the opening of the registration.
Is the mic. So that is my mic. We don't want to miss anything. This is going to be an interesting conversation. But we're also live on YouTube. So if you're watching, we're also live on YouTube. We are broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. Mayor, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much.
First, the incident, Nawek incident. I saw your statement yesterday. Just you and other Gambians also express your condolences to Nawek and KEI. Being a DG, what was your first reaction?
Well, it was shocking. I got the news late last evening. It's a tragedy. It's something that I don't think I've ever heard about in my lifetime. And it's something I think that is very rare in Gambia to have such a serious accident. And there's a lot of questions, of course, to be asked. But I think right now is a time for mourning. Kon ñi ñaanal guys and family. Yalla dimbali len. Ñi ngi ñaanal tam dem yalla pour yalla grant len jannatul firdaus. One I think accountability is important in Gambia. It's very important. I think a lot of things happen, a lot of tragedies happen, and then they go balal, go sul, and then mu repeat that. So I think something so tragic definitely needs accountability. Degana policy ñi ne dañu investigate. So we do hope once the investigation is out, accountability is done. Also, that there are safety procedures and improvements put in place to ensure something like this never happens again.
Thank you very much. And also I want to express my thanks to you and so many other Gambians who have joined the journalism community to condemn the incident surrounding the arrest of Voice newspaper journalists, the editor-in-chief Sheriff and Justice Dabo. This, I tell people, it's not just Justice and Sheriff, it's all of us.
Absolutely.
After Justice, it's going to be me. It's going to be Lamin Cham. It's going to be another person. All of us who speak, this is our business. This is what we do. And seeing our colleagues going through this yesterday they were in court. They were prosecuted for false broadcasting. You released a statement, other people also released a statement. I always tell people, we will remember this. We will remember people that have been there for us. Absolutely. This is very important because, I don't know, this is a profession that we do. This is the nature of our job. We are going to speculate about politicians. We are going to speak about political leaders. And that doesn't mean we have beef or issues with them. Now, seeing people coming out and speaking against this means a lot. I'm sure some of you, when you issue these statements, you just say it's a statement, but it means a lot to all of us out there because we know you care about our well-being and what we do in our... Now, but that statement, when I read it, Madi and I had a show last week. Madi said, I've seen a lot of statements, but Mayor Bensouda's statement is deep. You reminded the president of his status as a public figure, but you also reminded us that you have gone through this yourself, but never have we seen you go that route.
Absolutely.
Why is it important to bring that angle into your statement?
Absolutely. I think generally injustice should be fought by everybody because it's like a virus. you think it affects one of your neighbors, but eventually it'll spread to your house.
Yeah.
And I think dictatorship needs to be man-marked, meaning they go to check at every level to keep it from going out of hand or growing into something someday where none of us are safe and everybody lives in fear, because we've lived that experience and not too long ago. This government actually represents the change we wanted. So things like this never happen again. The reason why this arrest was very personal for me is because the context I live it every day. I am the subject of political speculation than anyone. For the past 2 years, there's been a smear campaign against me from my rivals. There's a lot of political speculation, a lot of them false, about my intentions. And people do it to damage my reputation. But at the end of the day, this is the game. It's politics, right? So you must develop thick skin. So munta muñ by politics. And the president should know that better than anybody. So basically, the reason I was actually very personal for me is that I'm accused every day. But I have the understanding that, okay, this is the game. All I can do is clear myself. Right? But I can't really use any methods, especially that are undemocratic, just because I feel hurt. And more a set example, bisa. So political retribution, especially using the police force to have your way, I think is actually very sad, and is something that should have never happened. And I think the IGP has a responsibility to be independent. I mean, to ensure that he's not used as a political tool or weapon for anybody. He's an IG for all of us, all political parties, all individuals. So I think it's unfortunate. I think there's still enough time for the police to drop this prosecution, because it affects their credibility as an independent police force. So I think it's a sad time, and everybody across all walks of life in Gambia, all sectors, whether private, civil activists, etc., should have their voice heard, because tomorrow it could be you. So I think it's something that should have never happened in the first place.
You said something, you for the past 2 years, you have been a subject of all these speculations. And I think every show we keep talking about this. And today, obviously, at the end of the show, we'll talk about it again. Every single day, you have these controversies. Never have I even had you even respond to them in even audios and others. But the president is he's the #1 citizen.
Absolutely.
I said this on my show the other time. When he was a private citizen, we didn't care what he was doing. We didn't care what he wants to do and what he was about to do. But today he's the president of the republic. We have interest in everything that he does. We want to know everything. We want to even know what he's eating. That's why we always say Mbahal at Pipeline. We talk about the Friday Mbahal at Pipeline. We talk about it on our shows. It's because Mr. Dawo is a public figure. We talk about, Barrow, what he eats, what he likes eating. The mere things of just what he wants to eat, we talk about it because he's a public figure. And you understand that at your level, you're a mayor. The president is the president of the republic. Why do you think it has gotten to this point for the president to think about even, taking journalists to court? And the state, going forward, prosecuting journalists for just a mere speculative story that let me say, is balanced, because have gotten a fair share from even NPP also.
Absolutely. So I think even if you look at the content of the story, there's no defamation of character of the president. There's no attack on the president. It's a political speculation about what could possibly happen in NPP. And it's a talk about potential succession. That should be a natural part of democracy. And this is why several times I talk about term limits. And I think naturally, I'm not sure whether it's a science or not, but it's become an international norm to do 2 terms. And I think naturally when somebody overstays in power, this is what happens. You think about how to entrench yourself. And people talking about you potentially moving on becomes a threat. And I think this is what has caused the knee-jerk reaction. I have said before, and I keep repeating, I think President Barrow should be focusing on how to seal his legacy, how to do the reforms that he promised the people, the civil service reform, The Truth and Reconciliation Commission had findings. So how to reform the security sector, constitutional reform, and try and look at an exit plan and look at internal democracy within his party and allow for succession. If that does not happen, these are the things that will happen. You start spiraling into an autocratic regime because you become solely focused on how to entrench yourself in power. Then you fear leaving and what would be the repercussions. And then you further entrench yourself in power. And it never stops. Every term you will say, one more term. Every term you will have justifications for one more term. And basically when you leave, you're in trouble. We've seen it over and over and over again. Look at what's happening in Senegal, Senegal, right? So what has happened? President Sall has resigned from his post, his French appointment, I think it's the 4 Ps or something like that, where he feels in order to secure himself, he must come back and participate in parliamentary elections. And basically trying to protect himself against prosecution. So look at Jar. You should be a former head of state enjoying the privileges of an international statesman. But here he is worried at the age of 60 about potentially what could be his future after having such a big position and international profile. So I think if President Barrow cannot learn from Macky Sall, then he can never learn.
And you have said it all, but this happened, the arrest of Voice newspaper happened at a time when the president was at the UN. And the statement that they read at the United Nations was, there has never been any political persecution. Nobody has been imprisoned or jailed, politician, journalists, or political activists. And this brought a debate. A lot of said, no, I'm sorry, but that statement is wrong.
Absolutely.
Dr. Cisse, who was with the president at the time in UN, was one time prosecuted. He was kept at the police station. At that time, Justice Dabo was in police cells. The 3 years Jatna, they are a political movement. They were sent to Mile 2 prison for months, for some time. So I don't understand. Do you feel that statement was right, or am I wrong? That because I asked a lawyer here the other time, and he said, no, if somebody is behind bars or detained, that is imprisonment.
Of course.
So
that's what it means to put somebody in jail. Maybe not in prison, but in jail. So basically, I was in New York at the time, and I did see the contradiction because I saw both events happen at the same time. And basically, it just speaks to what we currently have, is the draconian laws and the constitution that allows for autocracy. And this is why we've been saying the 2020 draft should be respected and be brought back. But they have not done it. They have butchered and changed it to suit themselves. But basically, this is a guarantee of everybody's freedom, including his. If it can be used against citizens now, it could be used against even the president after power. So it actually even guarantees his future to ensure that there's a constitution that protects the basic rights of everybody. Basically, this is a civil case in my opinion. If you feel somebody has defamed your character, sue them to court. And I think the president already had their lawyer right to the journalists. But why then use the police again to arrest them and put them in jail? So this is where the abuse of power comes in. That's why I said I think it's enough time for the IG to drop the case. And I think looking at the constitution, one should look at the detention of 72 hours without cause. It's unreasonable. If you have substantial evidence against somebody, yes, then you can jail them as a suspect. Right, while they are under detention, within 24 hours, you should be able to establish whether they did the crime or not and be prosecuted. But this 72 hours detention is a way to suppress people, is a way to instill fear in the population. And we've seen this regime use it over and over and over again. And I think it's uncalled for. I have visited Ibrahim Adiba while he was under 72 hours. I have visited Mamadou Sabali when he was under 72 hours. I have Sirifo Bayo Sonko, Baby Aisha and the Democracy Girls. I have, as a mayor, I have visited so many people who have gone under this stress. And at the end of the day, they let them go. So it's a tool that is used, dictators would use to instill fear in their enemies. So I think the IG must be very careful of how he applies this law.
Yeah, you talked about reform, and I think it's important for somebody like me. I take pride in our judiciary system.
Right.
At this point, I don't know if I can say that of the police because of what I've seen they've been doing. The government are not showing any signs because, for example, in the draft, in the 2020 draft, there was changes. Instead of the 72 hours, it was changed, I think, to 48 hours.
Right.
This government, cabinet, when they were doing the draft, they changed it back to 72. That says a lot.
Right.
I don't see the reason why you would change that. I mean, if as an institution, you should be able to do investigations within 48 hours to release people.
Right.
But they took it back to 72.
Right.
If this 2020 draft passes, what that means is we're going back to the 72 instead of the proposed 48 hours that was done by the 2020. So the government is not willing to give us those rights. And the police, obviously, they enjoy these things, holding us there for 72 hours. The only institution that I can trust is the judiciary. Now, what's your take on the judiciary? Because it seems like we're going to be ending up in courts with all of these things that the laws in the books. We know the cybercrime bill is at the National Assembly. If it passes, all these things the police are doing is just going to give them more powers. They can look at my story and say it's a false news and charge me under that. The only people that we can trust, I think now, is the judiciary. What's your take on our judiciary? You think we can look at the judiciary and say, you know, we can trust them?
Right. So to begin with, I think there's a saying that everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I think there should be a thorough investigation even before you detain somebody.
Okay.
Because that is unfair to that person. That is infringing on that person's basic human rights. I think the 48 hours is too long. If you have enough evidence, you don't need more than 24 hours to establish the facts and determine whether you will prosecute and put that person in remand, and if you're going to take them to court or not. The judiciary, we all know, is underfunded. Just today I was driving by Kanifing Magistrates Court, naturally is beside our office, and you look at the dilapidated conditions in the court. I have visited people in the court, even the benches, the furniture that you sit in. You look at even the facilities in the court, and you look at the budgets. Both the judiciary and the legislature are way less funded than even the executive. And these are the three branches of government that should create balance.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the judiciary is quite critical, arguably even the most important.
It's most important.
Because of its independent nature. Now, you look at also the magistrates. A lot of them are underpaid. A lot of them are not motivated and are looking to leave.
Yeah.
And you look at what the government is spending on. They're spending on expensive SUVs. One SUV could resource an entire court. So there must be a lot of seriousness taken into resourcing our courts to reduce the delays in the procedures of the court. We look at so much backlog of cases. I look at KMC, we have, I think, 3 cases in the courts that have been taking 3 years, and in our opinion, quite simple cases where all the facts are presented. And we want government to take them seriously. Judiciary is an integral part of any nation.
Yeah.
It is a foundation because we are a country of laws, and they are the referee. So I think there should be more seriousness into how well they are resourced and how effective they work.
Yeah. Now, before I go to KMC, I want to look at what's trending. What is trending also is that your party leader, Bensouda Dabo, came from his tour in the United States. You were also there. We'll come back to that. But when he came, you know, at the end of the procession, I don't know how many hours it took. You guys, like, that's what he called it, right? The party leader, you know, gave a speech at the end of the procession where he talked about very important things, though. And a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, the following day we were briefing and we talked about, look, Mr. Bravo said so many important things. He talked about the sale of the mega bank. He talked about inflation. He talked about the high price of food and commodities. He went back again and talked about the land issue. I thought he had forgotten about it. I don't know what's wrong with him and that land, but he won that land back. The Chief Justice resident, he talked about that land also. you know, he talked about very important agriculture, health sector, the police that we were just talking about. These were all policy issues that he talked about. And I said to, my colleague said to me, look, you know, I said, Mr. Dabo said a lot of very interesting things for us journalists to go look at, you know, the sale of this mega bank. This is very interesting because there have been a lot of talks about what happened at mega bank, how people were giving loans without, you know, without any collaterals, how businesses were funded to bring rice into this country to make food self-sufficiency food affordable. It's never been affordable, and we have had issues. So we were briefing and we were talking about that, and this person said to me, brace up yourself. Don't be surprised that the president will respond tomorrow. But I can guarantee you his response is going to be personal. And mind you, Mr. Dabo's statements were all policy driven. And the president did not disappoint, actually. He came back. He responded to the to Mr. Dabo. And just like my colleague said to me, there were a lot of personal issues there. He talked about how he joined UDP and all the stuff. He did not talk about the land. He did not also talk about the mega bank issue. But the response was, the nature of the response was what really, did you listen to the president's response?
I listened to parts of it, and I heard the ferocious nature of the response. Nothing like Mr. Dabo's statement. To begin where you started, Mr. Dabo has a natural aura. I spoke to him the day after his welcoming, and I told him one thing that nobody could take from you is that as an opposition figure, the love you have amongst your supporters is very rare. It's one of a kind. Many people went to receive him, not because they were financed, not because they were taken there, they took themselves there. And this shows how much his supporters appreciate and love him. Because of the kind of person we know he is. He's a person of high integrity. He fights for justice. And that speaks to even some of the topics he touched on. The issue of the land, the issue of mega bank. He has insiders all over government. When he speaks with it with authority. He knows exactly the transactions that have happened, what has gone on. So when he speaks about it, he knows exactly what he's talking about. And he's the type Dubai. So he's going to keep pushing it until he has answers. What we expect is a response that is also of policy, a response that disproves what Mr. Dabo said, but not a personal response with low blows. I think this is what's missing in our political discourse. There should be a level of respect, a level of class, a level of sophistication that talks about ideas. I heard Mr. Dabo's speech, and he spoke about ideas and policies and how he wants to see our government accountable. And that is his work as a leading opposition figure. So I think maybe the president must have maybe felt that maybe UDP was dormant or dying, and then all of a sudden there's huge crowds up to 1 a.m. in the morning. And this was a welcoming that was just basically announced on WhatsApp groups. I am the organizing secretary. I can tell you there was no major preparation or logistics for this welcoming. It was just purely publicized in forums, publicized in Facebook, etc., and people just responded. And maybe this was the trigger for the president, and this is why he responded so ferociously.
The president said something that really was alarming for me. He said, because Mr. Dabo talked to the police to be careful, he spoke to the IGP to say, don't allow himself to be used by the president because he's the president's in-law. And, you know, he thanked the other security officers, obviously, for, you know, what they have done. And he also talked about the controversial $40 million is for the journalists. He said it could have been used for the police and all that stuff. And Mr. Dabo said, spoke about that, and but Barrow said, if there was no democracy in the Gambia, Mr. Dabo and a lot of the members of your executive would have been in jail today because of his tolerance, because of the democracy in this country that he has made available. That is why Mr. Dabo and others are not in jail. When you hear something like that.
It just speaks about his mindset, right? So basically, I first want to thank the police, just as Lawyer Dabo did. I visited them after Mr. Dabo sent me there to discuss about conditions in the permit. We were received by the senior management of the police. They were very polite. We had a cordial discussion, a debate. We agreed to disagree, but at the end of the day, we had the access and we had that cordial discussion. Also, on the ground, we did see a massive presence, but we saw them very professional, and they were there, it seems, to protect the crowd and make sure there was orderly procession where nobody got hurt. And they went all the way. So I think everybody was impressed amongst the supporters about the professionalism of the police. And this is why they need funding. This is why police need to be supported to make them more independent. A well-paid police is a more independent police. And this will allow them to have more capacity to understand that democratic policing needs some work. Outside of that, in terms of the president's remarks, it's just what I said. This is the mindset change that happens when you overstay or you are intending to overstay. Because you start looking at government as a personal property. You start looking at individual freedoms as something you are giving them and not something that is their basic right. I mean, the president should not determine who gets arrested or not, should not determine who gets to walk free or not. That should be by a just constitution through a fair judicial process, you know, with a competent police to ensure that there's proper investigations done. So the fact that he's saying that the reason you are free today is by my own will speaks to a lot of the mindset change that happens when somebody intends to overstay in power. And it's a dangerous place he's going into. And he has enough time to save himself from that trouble. So this is why I say two-term limit is a natural way in which leaders can leave power in a very peaceful transitional way.
The president said so many other things, but one of them is regarding councils, and I'll come back to that when we talk about councils. But one thing I ask every guest that I have here now, and I want to keep having that conversation, is third term. Because it seems like the president doesn't want us to talk about third term. And naturally we will, because you know, we have said, journalists have said a lot of things about this president and this government. But the fact that the president is upset that we're talking about his succession plan, that says a lot about why they're concerned. And I asked Sidi, I said, why is NPP worried about us talking about third term? We are going to talk about that because, I mean, yes, we know that there's no term limit. The president said this on his audio. He said, why are they saying that he should not be candidate? Gambia term limit mansotoja. Term limit mansotoja. Now he's telling us directly, based on the, which is true though, to president's defense, there's no term limit in our constitution. But, you know, the president himself has told us that he's not a fan of term limits. He's not a fan of going beyond two terms. And, you know, he has said this several times that he's only going to do 2 terms in interviews. But it seems like he's changing that. Do you think we should have conversations of around third term more often? Is this a way, and I've seen that you guys are doing that, is this the way of putting pressure on the president? Is that what you guys are trying to do? Because it seems like it agitates them whenever you guys talk about it.
So you said tamsi among soto, but I nyanta soto. So his words run again. But the time limit mansoto na constitution okon. But I nyanta soto. Exactly. So basically, look at the norms around West Africa and the globe. Look at the norms in our neighborhood. Look at Ghana. Look at now Sierra Leone. Madabio, this is his last term.
Yeah.
Right? He's accepted it. There's already an internal political process within his party for a replacement.
Yeah.
Look at Ghana. Look at Senegal. You know, all these countries around us now, we are the only pariah.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, we should follow international norm. Now, UDP, our mayors have all declared. I was the first to declare. I said, I'm not going for a second term, even during my election.
Yeah.
That's when I was saying it. And every day I repeat it and make it a point. So that those who are interested in a mayoral position can start preparing themselves. So that as an example to the government, that second term is a natural part of life. You will be getting more tired. You will run out of ideas. You understand? As long as you keep staying in power, you will start turning autocratic. You will start believing this is my seat. So power does affect your brain. There's actually a study that's proven that. It does affect your brain and your psychology, and will affect your behavior and how you treat people around you. And this is exactly what is happening. When the president starts looking at the government as his personal property, he feels that leaving it and leaving somebody else is as if he's giving his property to somebody else, and becomes easily offended if people talk about the potential of him leaving. We should be a natural part. That's why it was better to be guaranteed by the Constitution, and the choice is removed. So no matter what character comes, they have no choice but to prepare for succession. And that is healthy for the country, to self-correct.
Yeah.
You know, and to basically channel back the energy in how we can bring prosperity and progress, right? So I think for the president, as I warn and keep warning, right, he should start preparing, because this is in his best interest, right? And I gave Macky Sall as an example, right? This is in his best interest to live life after president as an elderly statesman, respected by everybody, with his legacy sealed. And this is the best time to start planning for that change.
Well, we'll come to other issues that the president raised that concerns councils when we get to the commission. Because Dabo, instead of all these things that are happening at the commissions, he's not talking about you guys, but he's only talking about them, corruption and others. Because commissions, I'm
we'll come into that,
Let's look at KMC. During your campaign, there were a lot of promises. Road network.
Absolutely.
You know, and other stuff. What is the full and total? Where exactly are we in KMC after 1 year, some months?
Absolutely. So we've been in office now 1 year, barely 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
We have started some of the campaign promises, as we said. We call it implementing our manifesto.
Okay.
Because we never say it's a promise, we say it's a plan.
It's a plan.
So basically we have started the road network, we've launched it. The drains works have started, the excavation of the waste in the drains, and hopefully after the rainy season, the construction of the drains in Bakau. And then the road bridges will follow shortly after that, and then the construction of the 15.4 kilometers of tar roads within the municipality. So we hope that full implementation for that project will be concluding around the end of 2026 to conclude the implementation of the construction.
Okay.
The second thing we said, of course, is that we will open our library and with a public information office. We have already set a date. I don't want to announce it, but it's within this year.
For the library?
For the library.
Okay.
All the materials are there. They're right now cataloging the books with the supervision and support of the national libraries. Outside of that, we talked about municipal transportation. We are pushing very hard. We have very good referrals into where we can partner and get finance, but it's too early. But we are really hoping by next year we can finally get it off the ground. I know many people are doing VAR on us and reminding us, you said this, where is it? But we assure everybody that we are working very hard. Some of these things are not very easy to pull off, especially as a council without much support. We talked about the municipal markets. We're on the verge of establishing an expansion in the Bakote fish market and establishing a new market in the Serakunda vicinity. For Fajikunda, we are still working on it. Like I said, we are 1 year, 3 months into our second term. So we are just 20% on the way, but we are currently working on it. As far as the other one was, I think it was the affordable housing. We have put it on hold because we want to get these other projects off the ground because they started early, because we don't want to stretch council resources and personnel too thin. But we hope by next year, as we get all the other projects off the ground, we will be going into the affordable housing. On the waste management, we did announce that we had a success in promoting a project with the EU and the European Investment Bank showed interest up to 48 million euro. However, because of the scale of the project and because of the financing model that might need government support and approval, we have agreed that as a one municipality, maybe this is too big for us to implement alone, and we need to do it in partnership with other councils and the government. So we've agreed to hand the promotion and the lead to the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Local Government to take charge.
Okay.
With KMC, all we care about is let the development come to the people. And we know that project is life-changing because it would change waste management entirely within the greater Banjul area. We are proud that we initiated, but now we will let the government implement, as rightly so, because the financial part is mostly dealing with them. So I think these are the 5 areas in which we talked about in our manifesto. So 2 are on the way and 3 are yet to initiate. But we hope by the end of 4 years, you could come back and grade us at 90%.
And look at, no, we'll come back here and look at.
You know that's why 2 terms is important, because for me, concluding these projects is integral in my legacy of what I leave behind in KMC, knowing that I cannot come back, because I will never go back on my word. That's my integrity at stake. Knowing that I will not come back, I will spend all my energy to ensure at least I leave a good legacy, so people can remember that during Mayor Bensouda's time, he achieved A, B, C, D, E. Wow. So I think this is why 2 terms is very important.
It's very important. Now, these are very important projects. Let's look at one project that you, the Mbalit project that you introduced in your first term.
Right.
I say that was one of the most beneficiary as a resident of KM, you know, because I know how much I pay for Mbalit. How are you planning on upgrading it, or you know, just expanding it, because obviously it's growing, KM is growing, and obviously I don't know if you're able to cover everywhere. Is there any plans of upgrading the Mbalit project?
Right, so the Mbalit has a replenishment plan. If you remember, right, when I elected, we did buy 6 more vehicles. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes,
and the vehicle lifespan is literally 15 years. But we hope within 10 years there should be resources to increase the fleet or replenish old vehicles. Now the fleet is at 30 trucks with 20 skip bins.
30 trucks?
30 trucks with 20 skip bins. We carry about 600 tons of waste a day. Imagine if we were not collecting that waste. Of course there are problems. There's efficiency problems, there's coverage problems. And this, of course, our residents remind us all the time. But we also want the citizenry to play their part, because we see that it's important to have behavioral change. Many people don't communicate with their ward councillors, because KMC has made it a point to open 19 offices, 1 per ward, for every ward development committee or the councillor. And really that's where residents should be channeling their complaints or taking their communication. But we see a lot of residents, when they don't see the truck, they just dump indiscriminately. And I think that's not the purpose of the offices. So we want residents to also play our part. Their part. We have access issues, of course, naturally. KMC's 90% roads are unbuilt. Because of generational poor planning, many areas are inaccessible. Because of a lot of illegal settlements on swamplands, on wetlands, our trucks can't access those areas, so we do have coverage problems. But for the most part, the last study that was done, I can't remember the organization, although it was independent, either UN Habitat or one of these organizations, don't quote me, but they came up that now we are experiencing almost 70% coverage within the municipality. When we were coming into office, that was 4%. So by far, the Mbalit project is the most consequential project KMC has ever undertaken. And we are always going to be proud of it, and we will always defend it, but with statistics.
Statistics. You know? One other challenge that, you know, KMC has always faced is the, during the rainy season, obviously, is the accessibility of roads. We did a story in Ibo Town and others. We have seen, I mean, people will tell you there have been a lot of improvement, but there are still a lot of challenges. Compared to other regions, obviously, it's better. But what is councils doing to make sure that residents don't continuously go through what they're going through, having, you know, roads blocked because of heavy floods of rains and stuff like that?
So like I said, these are generational problems of urban planning. And they should be a master plan, deeper thought, longer term vision of how to correct some of these generational wrongs or historical wrongs. What KMC is doing right now is, within our power, what infrastructure can we develop, and thus our road network project. But outside of our power, meaning some of these macro issues or larger scale projects, we don't have the partnerships, we don't have the access to resources or the legislative mandate to make that happen. Only government can, right? So this is why government took out an NDP. These should have been the things that should be featured in the NDP. The first one, 2018 to 2021, a lot of it was not experienced, like youth empowerment, etc. And they abandoned it and basically came out with the Yirwa, right, which speaks about different things, but none of them really addresses some of the chronic issues our residences are facing. So I think these are some of the projects that should be of that magnitude when you're talking about a master plan for our country, a long-term vision, 20-30-year plan. Because what's going to happen, Gambia is facing net immigration because neighboring countries are coming inside, and net external immigration. We are facing a boom in terms of population growth. Look at the numbers we saw in the last census, etc. So those two things, in one of the smallest countries in mainland Africa or in the world, is the smallest country in mainland Africa and is becoming one of the most densely populated countries. We really have to master plan. We really have to think about zoning, how people build in our municipalities, how people live. We need to think about the facilities that people use, because every number of people need certain number of clinics, certain number of emergency installations, etc. So a certain number of infrastructure, etc. So this is sort of the big thinking Gambia needs to move us in the future, or we will just year on year be dying with frustration, you know.
Now, you talked about government NDP. I know your first term was not a very good relationship with government.
Right.
Now, this time, how is your relationship with the central
There's never a good relationship.
Up to now?
Up to now. I mean, that's what sparked the Commission of Inquiry.
Oh, okay.
Right. So,
but the commission started in your first term.
Well, and it's a continuation of the bad relationship.
Okay, okay.
Well, right. So if you remember, it was a first ministerial commission of inquiry targeted for KMC, and we took it to High Court, and when the powers of that commission were removed, that's what brought about this Presidential Commission of Inquiry, meaning the root cause was KMC.
Yeah.
Right? So the relationship is never good, although this is not the way we wanted it. We want a relationship that brings quality of life to the constituents, regardless of the political dispensation of either government. At the end of the day, there are already tools in place to ensure councils are corrected by the ministry as a supervisory body, but they have never used those tools.
But the minister came to KMC, and he definitely openly said he was open to having a very good relationship with KMC.
Right.
And, you know, we were expecting that, you know, that was definitely going to be, that was a sincere call.
Right.
And then, you know, that we were all assuming that's a good relationship.
So this new minister hasn't taken any new action.
Okay.
That has hurt KMC or is adverse to KMC.
Okay.
But he has also not taken any new action to
support,
to improve the relationships. Every minister visits, they talk about unity, they talk about improvement of relationships. And even the minister before with Abasanyang, he came and said KMC is the cleanest municipality, it has done the most in waste management. But literally a month later, he was at a political rally and said KMC is the dirtiest region and basically the most useless municipality. So the politics has hurt relations. I'm not saying this new minister has done anything to impede on those relations, but I'm saying there's a continuation of that bad relations that has not been broken. And that's definitely not how we want it. Because at the end of the day, we want a relationship that makes it easier for us to serve the people.
Now, have the subvention. We know government is supposed to pay 25% of all councils, the development budget as to you as subvention. You know, if there's a good relationship, that should be coming. Has that been forthcoming?
Exactly. So that should have been, I think, the litmus test. That should have been the sign that relationships are going to improve. We will pay your 25%. It has never been forthcoming. There was a time when we complained they gave every region 2 million. In the case of KMC, that's basically less than 1% of our revenue.
Now, I've said this, politics, when we elect officials, being president or councils, it's because we want those people to represent us.
Right.
But we also, as a population, we understand that the political figures should put their political hats aside and work for us. And there cannot be a good council, a proper functioning council, if they don't have the support and collaboration of the central government. Now, how are we able to put politics aside and work for the people, both central and local governments? Because if not, you know, KMC will try to do what they can do, and government will try to do what they can do. But at the end of the day, if both of you come together, that makes it even better for the citizens.
Right.
How are we able to do this then?
Right. So basically, the politician could never put politics aside.
Yeah.
It is impossible.
It's impossible.
So
But
politicians
look at
are
the
not
interests
the
of the
ones
people.
who are tasked to do that. That's why people, the framers of the constitutions, who are people of high integrity, who are people we entrust with that work, who show that they are non-partisan and they want the best for the country, those are the people you entrust with creating a constitution that prevents politicians from politicizing the administration of government. So you look at, in the case of America, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. You look at basically South Africa, Nelson Mandela, Ramaphosa.
Yeah.
These are the framers of their constitutions.
Yeah.
Right? You look at our 2020 draft. You look at Justice Chernajalo.
Yeah.
Right? Our Sise Sabali. You know, these are persons that everybody agrees are knowledgeable of law. They are draft persons. They are persons of high integrity. They created a good draft. And if that draft was followed, basically that would protect the rights. That would guarantee to ensure that politics is not interfering in administration. But what happened in Gambia case? They threw that draft into the dustbin. We have a new draft of 2024. We don't know who the framers are.
Yeah.
But look at the local government section.
Of the
They have removed that local government should be highly autonomous.
Yeah.
So they've removed that we should not have autonomy, which is actually in the 2002 draft.
Yeah.
Right? They have removed that local governments should not be the government should not be decentralized. And if you look at that draft that removes those things, the only country I can think of that has similar draft is North Korea, which is a highly centralized autocratic state.
Yeah.
Right? So you cannot, a politician cannot be the person to remove politics from administration. It has to be these people of high integrity that are the framers of constitutions. So we must bring back the 2020 draft as it is, without anything changed. And we could trust that constitution, that it will protect the people for the most part.
But you know, you guys keep saying we must bring the 2020 draft.
Right.
Now that they have changed it,
Right.
can you guys, I mean, I know the UDP position has been
Right.
clear that anything,
Right.
we will not vote for it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people will say, there are so many other good things in this constitution. Is it possible that your lawmakers will go to committee stage and negotiate? Alaji Dabo told me that is not even possible because we don't have the numbers to do. If we go to committee stage to edit, the NPP people overpowers us in those committees, so there wouldn't be any meaningful editing. But can we try that? Because at the end of the day, we want a constitution. We want 2-term limits. We want presidents to know that it's just 2-term. We want all of these things, progressive laws. I know there are so many bad things like the constitution in the 2024 draft, but should that be should UDP look at it from that angle?
So we want a good constitution. We don't want any constitution. We already have a constitution. I think it was Honorable Suleiman Saho. He said a very funny quote. I cannot remember exactly, but he was saying it's we already have a bad constitution. Why bring another bad one?
Oh.
Right. So he said something to that effect. So if a constitution is all we want, we already have one. Right. What people are demanding is a good constitution that guarantees our rights. Right. And the 2020 does just that. This one is a total rewrite. It's not something that you can amend and negotiate on. Basically, if you want to negotiate on this, go back to the drafting board and write up a new one, but with independent players in a consultative process that people trust. In the 2021, I had the opportunity to sit with the framers at the youth monument, along with the heads of the Christian community, Muslim community, civil activists, all these people were there. Civil society, everybody was there. The youths were there, the women were there, and everybody had their views heard.
Yeah.
So that draft, I believe, is the only thing that could be possibly negotiated on. And I can freely speak for my party and party leader, because I think my party leader has made things very clear that even a that change on the constitution wouldn't be accepted. And I think he's absolutely right.
Now, going back to the local government section of the constitution, you know, now you telling me the relationship is bad, and looking at the changes that have been made in the 2024 draft, what does that tell us? That the government has, they just want to control the local governments? So
there's a lot of contradictions with this government. Look at the Commission of Inquiry terms of reference. One of them is to look at how to improve processes, how to ensure councils are functioning, how to ensure checks and balances, you know, how to ensure there's smooth operations, etc. And then you look at the constitution, they're drafting, just as they're doing the Commission of Inquiry, which removes autonomy and removes decentralization. All right? And you look at even the dysfunctionality of most councils. Why are we dysfunctional? First of all, we are the ones sitting in the council, but we are not the ones hiring the staff. And we see the problems. We are not the ones who can fire the staff. Basically, you have a local government service commission overseeing thousands, maybe tens of thousands of council employees across the breadth of the country, a 6-person board, where the mayors and the councils who are sitting right there are not given the opportunity, after being elected, to manage the administration and the administration of these councils, even the financial resources. So government gives you employees that you have to work with, right? And you don't have the power over those employees. So how could you effectively administer those councils? And they want to hold you responsible for the administration of these councils. It's impossible. If you look at our Local Government Act, the chief accounting officer of every council is the CEO.
Yes.
That's the accounting officer of the council. That's why when we go to FPAC, when we go to the accounts committee, public accounts committee at the parliament, it's the CEO who answers the questions. Not the mayor.
Now that you have spoken about the commission, let's come to the commission. So, you know, the Commission of Inquiry is ongoing. I remember we had this conversation here, and I said I was not even interested in covering this commission, because personally I believe it was a political witch hunt, because this was before the it started when you guys had that issue with your former CEO. The ministerial commission was set up, and you guys challenged it. The court said the minister doesn't have those powers. That brought this commission, and that was the fact. And of course also the timing. It was before the mayoral election. Me and so many other people believe it was more of trying to influence the elections. But I remember that time, and then you said, but Fatou, we are not worried, because we are not accounting officers. But going through the commission, I said something, and I said, you know what, this commission actually is exposing government more than we think. From my own perspective, I looked at it and I saw what D.A. Jao also wrote about, something like that. Because what we are seeing from LRR to, from Basse Area Council coming down to Brikama, it's more of the chairman, the CEOs, the finance directors, all these people that are managed by the CEO and the finance directors. Especially look at what is happening in Brikama. And I said to Yankuba, you know what, you are vindicated. I don't know whatever anybody says, but you told us all of these corruptions in your council. And today it's been confirmed at the commission. It is these staff that are not political appointees, that are appointed by government. If you appoint people, you verify them, you check their backgrounds, you profile them, and you bring them to councils. If they're having issues, you should be the one to recall, because the chairmen and the mayors cannot sack them. We saw that case in Senabu Martin. Exactly. So to me, it's more of exposing government. And I think I heard one of the council legal people saying that, how can somebody appoint you when you already, he was basically telling local government officials when they were there first, he was blaming them for all these processes that is happening at the commission. Now, when you look at what is happening at the commission, starting from the Basse Area Council, Brikama and all that, the president said something that in his audio, he said, Dabo is talking about corruption and all of these things. Fama Yemimbe Kering Council Oltobang. Council Olmialonko is under his people. The councils were under basically UDP before. And all of these things that are happening happened under the management of UDP officials. That's what the president is saying. And technically, that is the truth. Now, is the president right when he gives us that explanation that Dabo should be more talking about the councils that were managed by you people? Because Dabo one time said, "Na left all na UDP be masakunda be kelanyadi al Talib Jube, al Rohilo Jube, al Landing Sane Jube, al Danjo Jube." But these were your councils, and you were managing them.
So first of all, corruption is corruption. You cannot say my corruption is cleaner than your corruption. Basically, that's what he said.
He's saying it happened, but he said,
my corruption is cleaner than you also have corruption. So he did not say they didn't have corruption. No, when Dabo accused him of corruption, he should have come out and said, no, my government is quite clean, is transparent, is accountable, there's no corruption, all corruption cases we deal with. But we know that's not the case. Look at the audit report that came out a few years back, and they directly quoted corruption cases. We are all living in this country. We have millions of dollars of missing funds in Gum Petroleum, millions of dollars, $40 million. Gambia Port Authority, $400 million. Literally every sector. So even council corruption, I always say, councils, we don't mind being under a commission of inquiry, being under the microscope, being held accountable. But we want, if that's supposed to be a process in this country, should start with the central government. Because when we are dealing with peanuts, they're dealing with millions and hundreds of millions of dollars or billions. Right? So this should have been a national corruption, a national commission of inquiry, encompassing all sectors. Secondly, when it comes to this particular commission of inquiry, in KMC's perspective, we see it as another battle in a long war. Because the PS himself, when he was invited, he said, the reason they asked for this presidential commission of inquiry is because they had a ministerial commission of inquiry on KMC, which basically the court stripped their powers. That's why they asked for this. So sitting from KMC, we say, oh, so KMC is the reason you have set up a presidential commission of inquiry. But I always said, even in my campaign, the easiest route is get the evidence, go to the police. Because that's the shortest route. Get the evidence, go to the police and prosecute. I said in my campaign, I said, if you have any dirt on me, take it to the police and prosecute. And then we meet in court. Right? So we don't mind being under a commission of inquiry. We think it's healthy for the country. But secondly, you cannot blame UDP for what is going on in councils.
You are the leaders.
No, but we don't have autonomy and the powers, executive powers as a council. But you're
overseeing all of these things.
But if I oversee, you mentioned the case, and I found you wanting and I cannot fire you, what's the point of my overseeing? Because if I am the one supervising you and I am in charge of you as a staff or an administrator, I find you wanting, I should have the power to fire you. I should also have the power to find talent and bring them to the council so that you can deliver on our agenda. So councils don't have the autonomy. We don't have the power. The mayor is an observer. In the council since 2018 in KMC, I have not even voted once. Because councillors vote, and if there's a tie, that's when the mayor is a tiebreaker. There's never been a tie in KMC because naturally our elected councillors are 19. So I have never been part of an executive decision because on the administrative side, I cannot. The law doesn't allow me. Even if I tell a director do something, he should not do it and he will not do it. It means nothing. Right? In the council, when I come and we pass a resolution, I don't partake in the resolution. If my time comes, I speak on my opinion. So how can you hold the council and the mayor responsible? And this is an anomaly, because you talk to Mayor Kerr Fatou. When he was a mayor in the PPP regime, he had executive powers. But in the 2002 Local Government Act, the former president removed the executive powers of the mayor because of Lai Conte. They felt Lai Conte was getting too powerful.
Too powerful.
So they made amendments to the Local Government Act to remove the executive powers of the mayor, to basically just make him an observer. And now in the 2024 draft, it's even going further.
Yeah.
Because that one said councils have a high degree of autonomy. Now they're saying councils should not have autonomy. So in fact, if you're supposed to blame, you blame government for the mess you're seeing in councils. And let me tell you, if it was one council that had problems and others did not have problems, or two.
But it's all over.
But if you see all these problems, knock on wood, but I think KMC is actually the best, because we cleaned up a lot of mess when we came. The same things Yankuba found in BAC is the same things we found in KMC. Right? We cleaned up a lot of mess. So the problems you see across all councils are systemic problems. They're chronic problems. And no matter who comes, those chronic problems will persist, because we need a systemic change that starts with a legislative agenda. So basically, when we came, remember, those who were there, we put boards. We were the only council or the only government agency who put signboards across the municipality that says, if you find our officers corrupt, report them on this number.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
And we are the only council who kept systematically catching actions of corruption and taking action by reporting it or sending it to the Local Government Service Commission.
Let's look at some of the issues that have been brought up.
Right.
First, you know what, the passport scandal. That one, I said to myself, actually, if this is KMC scandal, to be honest though, the day that report came out, I was speaking to one of the, I think it was secretary, one of the secretaries of one of the agencies, and I called her, she was like, the Madam is more passport boss. And she had done that twice in a month. She went to Senegal to take the passport, because the boss already had fingerprints already. So she took the passport, and then she also went to pick the passport. And I said, I know government will not comment on this, because that is the norm in all government agencies, all of them. Protocol officers go with passports are government documents. Protocol officers go with the drivers to go pick it, or secretaries go and pick their boss's passport. It's who you're comfortable with, because these are personal documents. Right. So when I saw that one, I was like, look, I think one of my reporters brought to my attention. I said, honestly, if this is KMC scandal for now, I think that is, but when you saw that, explain to us what really happened in the incident, because I know a lot of people will, I see a lot of things that are raised on social media, and I said, if you don't work in government agencies, I worked at the Ministry of GRTS, at the Ministry of Information, and in GAMTEL. So when I see some of these things, I just laugh, because I wish you know what happens in these parastatals. Right. I wish you know what happens in government agencies. You will not be talking about some of these things. But now, tell us what really happened in that incident.
Right, so I think you said it yourself. This is a normal part of government procedure, especially during my time. When we went to apply for my visa, the Canadian embassy at the time, because we always check. Nobody wants to go in a 6-hour journey in a car to collect a passport, and a 6-hour journey is tiring.
Nice.
And those who've been to Senegal by road know it's tiring. We always check, is there a DHL service? During the 2020, the Canadian embassy was not offering that service, because we check when we're there. And this is why we send somebody to go pick up the passport. One person, one driver. This is a normal part of government procedure. And I think the entire cost was 44,000 or 50,000. It's laughable. I can write that check and even donate it to the municipality. So basically, I think what is really happening is, in this commission of inquiry, the political operatives of NPP have set up shop there. And with KMC, because we have reported all cases of corruption that we know of during our time in office, that there's really nothing that is unreported unless there's a new discovery. So now they're looking at the fine print. They're looking at things with a microscope. Oh, look, he sent somebody with a passport. Are we really going to be talking about that in the whole commission of inquiry?
Yeah.
And basically, what's more disappointing is we see documents that are leaked.
Yeah,
No NPP operatives.
Yeah.
We see their militants on the ground, and we know it's a political hit job. You know, we know what the goal and the motivation is. But we say, look, let's go through the process. Right? I support commissions of inquiry. Let's go through the process. Let's find out what's what. Let's get to the bottom of the truth. And at the end of the day, no matter how long it is, the truth always comes out. But the signs that we see don't tell well. And you see, this country is very small. Right? Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has relatives everywhere. We know people in government. We know people around the Commission of Inquiry. We hear things. We know the motives. Right? So basically, all we are saying is, if you have evidence, the shortest route is to go to the police and prosecute. That's the shortest route. But sitting down and making stories about mayor, fine, the story will make news for 2 days, but at some point another story will overcome it. Right?
And you said something that is very interesting.
Right.
For example, I can understand if somebody testifies and says something, but if a commission that is doing a finding, a document that or a statement that somebody made to the commission is leaked somewhere, is that something that we should be concerned about?
Of course. I mean, you have statements leaked, documents leaked, you know, so I think it's a cause for concern. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's a process that started. We have to go through it, and we hope that there's actual good recommendations at the end of it to improve local governance. But hopefully there's also recommendations that will bring more autonomy and more accountability to the councils, right? That's what everybody wants, right? But at the end of the day, like I said, the signs we are seeing are not very encouraging, especially with KMC's case.
Yeah, with KMC, I mean, I said this to somebody, Brikama, I see millions being withdrawn. Jankuba told us this, but some of us were like, hey, you know, he told us this, but we haven't seen a lot of those documents being leaked, but, you know, we have seen this coming from KMC. It only confirms what you're saying. But now, again, another thing that also came about was the, one of the, I think your current finance director spoke, you know, during his testimony. He said something that was interesting.
Right.
He said during the ballot project, because the ballot project, I think that, if anything, that should be the biggest controversy for KMC. I'm waiting to hear what comes out of the ballot project.
Yeah.
But he said, I think it's Dr. Kerr, he said that during the process of the ballot project, when he said to you, I think he mentioned something about the process, and he said, and you just said, meaning you know, you did not care about the process. He knew the process was wrong. He brought it to your attention. You brushed it off and wanted to continue, making it look like you had a special interest in that. That is very damning, Mayor. This is your finance director telling us this in a commission.
Right, so I think, number one, the finance director was not there when we were framing the Mbalit project.
Dr. Keita was not?
He was not there.
At the council? At
the council. The Mbalit project was formed in 2019. Dr. Keita joined the council at the end of 2020, when the Mbalit project was already up and running. It is the most scrutinized project. Remember, when this project started, government was so upset because they investigated us at the State House level. Okay? When inspectors came from the ministry, they investigated this project. It's the project that has gone under most scrutiny because it's the biggest ever project undertaken by a municipal council in opposition, or ever. All right?
Yeah.
So the Mbalit project went through several layers of scrutiny. It is something that is approved by GPPA, by the General Council, negotiated through a contracts committee. And even when the Mbalit project, before it was approved by council, the proprietor of ESPAS was invited 3 times by the general body to be questioned and negotiated with. And right now, out of all the trucks that were bought by councils, the same specific truck, because now it's being bought by all councils, because they see it's durable, we bought the cheapest. So when the director of finance came, it was late in the game. He doesn't need my permission I am not his guardian to go and find out the process that the Mbalit project went through. He tried to reach out to ESPAS. He couldn't get a hold of them. He asked for my help. I gave him the number of ESPAS. He tried again. He couldn't get a hold of them. And he came to complain. I said, well, then leave them. But the director of finance and the deputy director of finance deal with ESPAS directly. I am not in operations. I'm not in operations. So basically, I think what this commission does, what I've seen anyway, is that they don't allow for the people to qualify their statements, in my opinion.
But
right?
I just saw something, somebody just sent me a comment that Dr. Keita made on the Fatou network when that story was written. He came back to rectify that he didn't mean that, he was not even there when this happened. But my thing is, why would you say that this was what happened when you were doing a process when you were not there?
Well,
why would he say that?
He was not there. So I don't know why he would say it, but if he tried to clarify his statements, that's why I said maybe he was not allowed to qualify his statement. But the mayor is not the right channel to come to if you want to go back to ESPAS and review the contract. If you want to go back to ESPAS and review the contract, you go to ESPAS and review the contract. But this is a contract already passed by GPPA and the General Council and signed. It is a legally binding document, all right, which went under intense scrutiny at all levels. So basically, all I'm saying is, I think at the end of the day, all parts will be heard and evidence will prevail. At the end of the day, all parts will be heard and the evidence will prevail.
You were confident that, because the Mbalit project, because I'm thinking that, because I have not heard anywhere in KM where they said withdrawn not a million, withdrawn only. I have not heard that in KMC so far. It is the process and obviously those little things which I will also come to. But are you telling me here on record that there wouldn't be any major issues, especially when it comes to the Mbalit project? Because I've seen that they have asked ESPAS Motors to bring receipts. You know that they're going deep into these investigations. They have gone to ask the supplier to bring receipts of how much they have bought these vehicles for. When you see stuff like that, what is that telling you?
Well, I think that's with the supplier. KMC did not buy trucks in China. We bought trucks in Gambia.
Okay.
So how much the supplier bought the trucks, that's the supplier's business. Secondly, like I said, the Mbalit project has gone under intense scrutiny already. The National Audit Office has gone through it. GPPA has gone through it. The council as a body has gone through it. The contracts committee has gone through it. The president's office has investigated it. The ministry's inspection team has investigated it. Sometimes I wonder, what is so miraculous about the Mbalit project? Maybe it's too amazing to believe that a council could pull this off. When we brought this, we had chronic waste management issues. In 2017, when I came, when I was going through my election and my campaign, the former mayor's office, the community dumped waste in front of his office. We could not collect any waste in the municipality. We had to do something, and we had to do something ambitious. So what I narrow it down to is government thought politically it would help us too much, and they did not want it to happen. But the Mbalit project has now set precedents where other municipalities now are copying the same process. GTSC bought buses under the same framework.
The same supplier.
Same supplier, same framework. 3-year payment plan, same supplier. Pre-financing mechanism.
BC,
sales contract.
BAC is doing...
BAC, I've heard they're doing the same thing.
With the same supplier.
The OIC vehicles were bought in the same way.
Same supplier.
And look, the Mbalit trucks were 5.2 million at the time. One OIC Land Cruiser SUV is 12 million. One bus with GTSC is 7 or 9 million. And the whole Mbalit truck that collects waste at the community every day is 5.2 million. So what is so miraculous about that? When we had the initial sales contract, it was 115 million for 9 trucks. We negotiated down to 105 million.
For 115?
For 115.
15, okay.
Imagine, if you look at the original documents, the first sales offer, 19 trucks weighing 115 million with other skip bins and other materials. Why would we negotiate down 10 million down if we had a vested interest in that? Just imagine. You know, so we have absolute confidence. I always say, I cannot guarantee whether other people will be found wanting. But I can say one thing. Talib Bensouda will never be found taking cash or being bribed or given anything. I can guarantee that. I said it in my election. When they started taking out all these speculations, I said, I'm an opposition figure. You have all this evidence. Arrest me. Yeah. Why are you making noise? If you have all of this evidence, come and arrest me. So basically, all I'm saying is the political operatives that are around the Commission of Inquiry, which we know KMC is the main target, everybody knows, the whole country is an open secret, will sit there and look at every dot and comma to make a big deal out of small things or things that should not even matter. Thus the passport, the so-called passport scandal or problem.
Passport gate, they call it. Passport gate. Another thing that also came about, and we have said this here over and over, is the former mayor, deputy mayor.
Right.
The issue of the former deputy mayor.
Right.
So when the Senabu Martin issue came about, we all applauded you because you took the right step to fight corruption.
Right.
Even though it was really tense. But the people of KM stood by you because that was the right thing to do. People wanted their to protect their finances.
Right.
They thought you were doing the right thing. We have never seen that in government circles, fighting corruption like that. You did that. But you were accused of covering for the deputy mayor.
Right.
The deputy mayor, the allegations against him were serious too.
Right.
He was the second high-ranking position in the in your council. But I had this conversation with you here, and you defended yourself on that. But it's coming up again. Somebody who was in council is saying that you covered for the deputy mayor. If not the scandal of the Senabu Martin, the deputy mayor would not have come up. You would have covered for him.
Right. So basically, it's going to be a he said, she said scenario. The fact of the matter is, the deputy mayor and the case of Senabu Martin are different, and let me tell you why. With one case, when we confronted them, which is Senabu Martin, she admitted right away. In the other case, he denied. So one was swift because the evidence was there, the person admitted. The other one is an allegation, the evidence is not there, and they did not admit. So that has to take a longer process. What did council do? If you look at the history, we set up a committee, an inter-party committee, led by a Doi councillor, Councillor Musa Cham of London Corner, where there were APRC councillors on board, just so we would not be accused of being partisan. And they went through an investigation. Midway in the investigation, the ministry sent an inspection team to take over the allegation, and they came out with a report. In their report, they said not enough evidence. The witnesses that reported the matter refused to participate.
The deputy council, the deputy mayor's case?
Yes.
Oh, the minister's report said that?
The CEO refused to participate.
Okay.
The person, the accuser. So basically, as a council, we have done what we could. We have set up an inter-party committee to investigate the matter. The ministry has come and taken it over. Okay? So when people say, Mayor tried to suppress it, how? When we have taken all these steps.
But they will say, in the Senabu Martin case, you refused the ministry to take over the investigation. But in this case, you allowed them to take over in the investigation. Why?
Do I have that power? How can a ministry of the national government, who is the overseer of councils, has the right to even call a general council where the mayor is not a chairperson? Section 151 of the Local Government Act. The minister can cause the mayor to call a general council where the minister serves as the chairperson and decides what the council will do. So how can a mayor overpower a government or a minister? So these are the baseless accusations we are talking about. So they have taken over the investigation. They should have come out with a cause of action. They did not. So you cannot put that T-shirt on me. I did my part as a mayor. So the difference is, on one accused, they accepted. The evidence was there. On another accused is an allegation they did not accept. That has a different cause of action.
Okay, now, still in the commission, another thing that came up, I think, last week is the allegation that you hired your auntie at KMC.
Right.
She worked there from, I think, 1988, and retired in 2017.
Right.
When she retired, you gave her a contract of 6 years.
Right.
Normally, 2 years contracts that what people give to people, but you gave her a 6-year contract. And even after that contract, I remember her though, that, you know, I went to pay my rates at KM. Mom, the first strict there. I went there. She was so strict. No, actually, it was a transfer.
Right.
It was a transfer that my dad was transferring some property to me, and she was no nonsense.
Right.
She said to me, my dad must come. Another member of a family must also come, a brother also, to witness that, because, you know, that's the procedure. She was not willing to burn anything. And I kept asking, because I was thinking, at least with my status, you know, she would understand and let us do this. My dad was there with me.
Right.
She said, no, a family member must come. She was really, really, like, strict, if I tell you. That was my interaction with her. So it was when they said, you know, when I saw the report, I knew, oh, Koko my auntie. I didn't know she was your auntie, but I was, you know, I must say she's really strict. But the allegation is you gave her a 6-year contract. Now, when that contract expired, instead of using KMC personnel to do a debt recovery, she set up a company of her own. You gave her a contract again for her to go and recover KMC's debts. It's like kind of nepotism that they're accusing you of.
So there's 1,400 staff in KMC. I don't have one relative in KMC except Auntie Ndeye, out of 1,400 staff. During our time, we have hired about 400 staff, because when we came, the staff was about 1,000. But the Mbalit project, the expansion of the municipal police, etc., we have hired about 400 staff. There's no single relative of mine who has been hired in the council. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, Auntie Ndeye has been working in KMC since 1988 to 2017. When I was 2 years old, that's when she was working in council. In 2017, when her initial contract was given, this is her retirement, 2017. So her initial contract, because as per law, you can have a contract of 6 years after your retirement.
Okay.
So her first initial 2-year contract was issued under Yankuba Koli in 2017.
Was Yankuba Koli?
2017 December.
Okay.
Was issued during that time, 2017 December. Her subsequent renewals were done by the establishment committee. So one thing I want everybody to know, because of the 2002 Local Government Act, the mayor cannot give contracts. And I'm not a member of the contracts committee.
But you can influence decisions?
I cannot influence decisions, because every contract, after it's decided by the contract committee, must come as a recommendation to a general council, where 25 councillors are seated, 19 will vote. How can I influence that decision? And when they vote, they are registered as voting. It's an open deliberation.
But Mayor,
right.
If it's an open voting, obviously it's anti-mayor. You know, I don't want to be seen to be not giving mayors a contract.
That's your personal sentiment. And this is where your professionalism as a councillor should come in.
But would it not be right to also looking at your position to say, Suma anti-Fogulonenga because this will look like I'm influencing decisions?
No,
you don't think so?
No. There's no law that says you cannot work in the same institution as your relative. And somebody I found there, who am I to say she cannot work there? She has more right to say, don't run for mayor because I am working here. Somebody who's been working in KMC, serving the KMC since 1988.
1988.
Right? If the institution, because the recommendation must come from the Director of Finance, who is the department head where that rates is under. He must say, I need this person to continue because of A, B, C, D, and E. It must then go to the contracts committee. The contracts committee has 2 councillors who are seated. The Director of Finance is seated. The Director of Planning is seated. The CEO is the chairperson, and 2 external experts. They have to decide as a committee that we adopt this recommendation and we will forward it to the council. KMC is I dare say, is the only council that operates this way, where it is complete process. So you have to then come from the contracts committee, bring it to the general body in the form of a recommendation. You will stand in front of the council and say, this is the reason I want to do this, and then a debate will erupt. And these debates are never easy. People are for, people are against. And I say, clerk, tally the vote. Those who are in favor stand, rise, and they stand. We count them, they say. Those who are against are rise. And if the vote is the majority, then that's when we pass a resolution. It's a foolproof system. Right? So after her contract expires completely, she has retired. I am again not on the contracts committee. If the revenue committee brings a recommendation that they have a $300 million debt that is not being collected for 6 years, $300 million. The internal capacity we have cannot possibly collect those debts. They feel that these debts, because rates, after a certain period, if not collected, it becomes sort of a bad debt legally. You cannot force the taxpayer to pay. So they said, we want to outsource debt collection. That decision is not done by the mayor. It's done by a revenue committee. A revenue committee then passes the recommendation to a contracts committee. That's how it operates. So who they contract, I am not aware, because that is their job. But now that I'm hearing that she's an employee of a contractor, so how can you put that on mayor? If a contractor sees that, oh, this person is so experienced in this department since 1988, and now they're retired, why won't I?
Also, so the company that they're saying KMC gave a contract is not her own company?
It is not her company, as far as I know.
Oh, she works for that?
She works for that person.
Okay.
As far as I know. Right? So basically, that person hired her because of the experience. So what is that KMC's problem? And this is even sometimes so interesting, because this is outside the mandate of the commission. Because this was done this year. There has even not been any activity, because they are not even started yet. And the commission's mandate ends in January 2023.
Yeah.
So why are they coming all the way here?
To look at stuff like this.
Why?
Wow. Somebody just reminded me that, I mean, if we were talking about nepotism, President's niece is the Minister of Environment, and the IGP is his brother-in-law. So I guess I cannot talk about this here. Since the president is like,
that's why I'm saying there's so much things happening in central government across sectors. In 1,400 staff, the only relative I have in KMC, one, was working there since 1988. In 1,400 staff, think about that. I have been mayor for 6 years.
Now this brings me to this thought. We have had in Basse like withdrawal of cash, a lot of it. Brikama Area Council, we cannot even talk about that. You know, when Yankuba told us, I keep saying this, when he told about this, and we were saying it's not true. But we have seen officials coming on record acknowledging withdrawing monies, like the geology fund of 50, I don't know how many million on all this. I have not so far had any of those in KMC that somebody withdraw this much money or something. It's more about processes, it's more about Talib, it's more about this passport scandal, and also the deputy mayor issue. It's more about the processes and those other issues. What have you been able to do to avoid some of these things? Somebody tells me, KMC, every day, yangi KM, suma xarit nga. The only politician I claim as a friend is MC Cham. And I said this openly. But our Haiti politician, but MC is my friend and my brother. And I keep telling him, reminding him, F-boy, KMC do legis halis. Fee halis do legis. And this was not him telling me this, but so many people, and a lot of people say this, you don't see money in KMC. What were you able to do since you came to avoid people coming in contact with bulk cash? Because Lulu more in these issues.
So today, what BAC is or was before Yankuba came is what KMC was before I came, right? A lot of stories, cash withdrawals, people holding cash, spending on political activities. We were living in Gambia. We know what was happening. Let's not pretend.
Yeah.
Right? KMC was a political institution where cash was used frivolously. People had access to cash. Remember, I came as a business person with experience in how organizations are run and how corporations are run.
Yeah.
Though I didn't have experience in government, I have a good idea of how a functioning institution and how governance structures keep checks and balances within the institution. And I studied the Local Government Act.
Yeah.
And I saw there were certain sections that were in the act that were supposed to safeguard against corrupt practices. And one of the big things is, how do you remove cash or limit cash from people's hands? I, as mayor, since we put in these checks and balances, I never see cash. Because when I go through the office, I usually don't pass in front of the cashier. I go upstairs into my office, and when I deal with other sections of the administration. So even the CEO doesn't see cash. Even the director of finance doesn't see cash. They don't have access to it because it's designed this way, designed under us. With all our limited powers, one thing we wanted to do is to limit the leakage, or if we could eliminate it. So we looked at two issues. One, we are resource hungry. We need resources to bring our development projects. One is, how do we bring tax compliance to get taxpayers to pay their taxes? Two, the money we already collect, how do we ensure we limit the leakage? And therefore we look at policies, we look at processes, we look at checks and balances. So I am a mayor who said, look, I want to decentralize operations. So we will decide by committee and resolve as a council. So committees make decisions that we want to do A, we want to do B, we want to do C. They bring their recommendations to council. After deliberation, there's a vote. In the form of contracts and procurement, there's an extra layer. For procurements over 500,000, is the responsibility of the chairman of the contracts committee to also take a further step and take it to GPPA after the council decides. That is the role of the CEO. So these are all checks and balances. If somebody needs the advice of the mayor, you can come to my office and say, Mayor, I need your advice on A, B, C, and D. But you don't have to come to my office. We create a budget as a council. We send the budget to the ministry ratifies the budget, it comes back, the CEO implements the budget, the council supervises. The mayor sits in the council on behalf of the councillors.
Yeah.
So the CEO reports to the mayor and says, okay, this is what we are planning to do, this is what we are planning to do, that's what we are doing, that's where we are, and I check for updates. If there's anything that has gone wrong, it is my responsibility to bring it to the council and say, we tasked the CEO to do this, but he did not do it. What do you think we should do? If it should be reverted to a committee to investigate, it's investigated. If the council can decide then and there, the clerk drafts a resolution and we vote on it. So, when I started, they used to say, Mayor dafa ragal, do they buga jël responsibility? Mayor daf dey bay nit ñi ñu def lu leen neex. No. Because I am respecting the governance structure based on what the law provides. The law says I am the political head of the municipality. I am the chairman of the council, similar to a chairman of a board. But I am not the CEO, I'm not the implementer. You understand? We are supervising the operations.
Yeah.
All right? So proper lula loi bi may dang de nopaleku.
Yeah.
That's why I can confidently sit and say, I can never be found wanting because I know exactly how I was running the council.
I mean, I know a lot of people say this, and practically this is the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is the CEOs and the finance directors are they implement KMC projects, council projects. They have, that is their role. Even when you go to FPAC, come and answer these questions because they are the ones that, they are the accounting officers of these councils. But you have seen what is happening at the commission, and you have already raised concerns. Will you be surprised if the commission finds you wanting because you are the political head? You are technically the head of the council. Somebody said to me, I'm going to be, I'm not going to, you know, it was like that. It was said that Talib pareta wala yakas wala ngoning commission tubula. Meaning, you will be the commission will recommend, for example, let's say ban you, just like they did, in other people's cases, ban you unless you go fight it in the courts, or you get because if the commission recommends to ban you for public office, to say because they find mismanagement under your watch, right? That is a recommendation, is accepted by government, right? If government accepts it, it becomes binding, right? Until you go and get it, fight it in the courts, or government gives you a pardon, and that's only when it is clear. And it's like your life is in their hands at this point.
Somebody told you their political plans.
No, seriously. I mean, we journalists, we get a lot of these things, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody said to me, hey, impareta Talib impareta obala. I'm like, he said, Famantara Commissioner Babanla.
Exactly.
And if that happens, your life is basically until the courts clear it, and we know what happens in these court systems. Unless government basically it's like your political career is hanging in the balance with these commissions.
So let me answer you in 3 parts. The first is, I have a terrific life outside politics.
Okay.
Politics is actually a huge task for me. I will not call it a burden, because I have had an incredible respect from the people of KMC, even the people of Gambia. I have seen love of an appreciation for what I have done and what I keep doing for the people. But I had an extremely comfortable life before politics. I own my own company. I sit on 4 boards where I have shares in. I have shares in many companies. Right? I think it's a well-known secret, the Bensouda family.
Of course.
Basically, after politics, I will continue to have a good life, an amazing life. And I have many plans. I always plan. I say option A, option B, option C. Right? If I never entered politics, I would have started a second company or a third company of my own, different from the ones I have shares in. Right? So, in other words, dama teki, because man, I wanna produce, I wanna work, dama buga am jering, and dama buga am good life. Right? So I came into this to bring a change, positive impact in my community, because I don't believe I should be the only one to develop when everybody around me is poor and struggling, right? So that's the call to service. That is number 1. Number 2, there's courts of law, right? So you have your intentions, you have your schemes. They had schemes to make me not win my second election. But they say you plan and God plans, and God is the best of planners. They said they were finished with me in my second election. God brought me back with the support of the people. All right? And this is a matter of law, and I am not a lawyer. We will leave it to the lawyers, right? But I will not preempt the commission, right? You have had things in the political...
I'm on record for saying
you have seen things...
Keep it.
You have heard things in the political grapevine. So have I.
Okay.
You have heard things of what they're scheming and what they're doing internally. So have I. Right? And it's obvious exactly why they even came to this point of the Commission of Inquiry. It's obvious because this is a tool of the former regime. All right? Thirdly, what I will say, I am a young guy, right? And I thank God for the privilege I have had to be a 2-term mayor, and I'm 37 years old.
Yeah.
Even if your idea is, I'm going to ban Talib for life, well, pray to God, you can live longer than Talib. I will keep exercising. I will pray I have no sicknesses or accident, knock on wood. But I am young. And I can do 1,000 different things. And I can help my country in 1,000 different ways. Because I have friends who are doing it. I have colleagues who are in business who are doing it. They have their charities, they have their NGOs, and they're thriving in business. So maybe some people, their life revolves around politics and positions, but certainly not I. So man, munlo ma block fee because I'm lara ofale. Because I use what God has given me, and I have the confidence and the personality to advance. So basically, they're scheming. It's obvious. Every day. They've been scheming since 2018 when I became mayor, or 2019 when the political split happened. But everybody with your plans. But at the end of the day, everything has to go through process. Everything has to be based on evidence. So when we get to the bridge, we will cross it.
If the commission bans you and government,
I will not preempt.
But I am ready for president.
I don't sell my integrity. I don't sell my integrity. Kuma topa dafa am li tax ma topa la. And lolu bottom line bi foog mu nekk lan moy njëriñ réew mi. Because su fekkee ne lu ma njëriñ right now I am better off not being a politician. Because there's something called opportunity cost.
Yeah.
The cost of being a politician is too heavy in terms of the financial opportunities I am missing. Tay man energy bu ma dee dugal as mayor 40-50 hours a week for 10 years potentially of my life. So ma dugaloon lolu in another business, I'll be a multi-dollar millionaire.
Yeah.
Because that energy and effort dam ko dugal to create other things. And am na ñu ko def. So basically what I'm saying is I cannot preempt these things. Allow it to go by process. But one thing I'm confident to tell you, everything has to be based on evidence. And based on evidence that I am 100% going to tell you that nobody is going to say, Talib Lanali, Jelnali. No. It's only, wow, Lila Warana Defuko, Lila Warana Defuko. But when we get to the bridge, we will cross it.
And you trust the courts?
I'm not saying you cannot trust.
When we go to
you hope that they're independent. You hope that they will be judicious. You hope they will do the right thing. Right? We have had wins, we have had losses, but at the end of the day, we have to have faith in the courts.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying basically, let's take things step by step. There's no reason to preempt anything. Is rumors? Who knows?
Somebody just said, Kerr Fatou have hate for Talib.
No, I can assure you,
let me tell you, I'm so happy this person says this because I'm so happy this person says that, you know, I'm being accused of being your I'm your PR person. And I said, Talib, I said, MC, some boss can get my friend. PR. And I said, and to the fact that, you know, this country is so interesting and funny. Even from the, you know, during the mayoral election, right? So I keep hearing, even when the president was having a meeting in Joshua, he said, am I thinking that now I get PR? And I went to Sidinjai to interview Sidinjai. And Sidinjai told me directly on air, he said, we know you are Talib's PR. You do PR for Talib. I'm like, who, me? And it was amazing. Right. And this keeps going, especially even now, the internal issues going on in the UDP. Right. Everybody says, I'm your PR person. I do PR for you. And I said, I wish you were paying me money. Because you know me, I complain. How many times did I call Aisha? I remember your first time. I complained one time, I called Aisha. I said, everything KMC does, I do for you. We cover you for free. KMC, there's no way KMC Musa Fay Kerr Fatou. Really? $4,500 du ma ko musa faate.
Musuñ la fay.
Musuñ ma jox check.
Oh my God.
Damay seet seen record.
That's embarrassing.
Can you
imagine? I can assure you, she loves me very much. And she has to ask the tough questions. You have to.
This person said, this person said, I hate you. But I'm happy that you are saying that. Because everyone else says I'm your PR person. I would love to be. As long as you pay.
Let's pay lots of political donations so we can pay for it.
You can pay a lot of money. Because, I will do PR for you when you give me a lot of money. Because you're easy to sell. You're very good to sell. That I can say. But let's, still on the commission, before I go, because the reason why I'm bringing this, for me, I look at it, what is happening in this commission, I'm not going to preempt, but, you know, as just like Voice Paper, newspaper, speculated. I'm also hearing other stuff that, you know, people will tell me. And I think this was this was not even now. When I was having a show here and I said, you will, I don't approve of this commission because I believe it's a political witch hunt. And this person said, oh, you think this is for this election? This is not for this election. So, and, you know, furthermore, explain to me what was that. But as a young person, because you're very young, and the reason for me why I support somebody like you, Yankuba, is young politicians who are also coming to inspire other people. Because before in Gambia, what we used to have is, elderly people sacrificing, people like Lawyer Dabo, Halifa Sallah, Sidiya Jata, they sacrifice so much in politics. If we see young people coming into politics, we applaud it, and we want to encourage more people, especially women, coming into politics. But for somebody like you or Yankuba, if you have to go through this, how does that make you feel about politics in general? Do you think it is encouraging for people that are aspiring to be politicians? If, for example, if what I'm saying, God forbid, if that happens, and the way Yankuba is being treated in BAC, and that continues, how will anybody look at you people and say, I just want to do as Talib Bensouda or Yankuba?
So I think politics is a career that one must choose, and it's a calling, and one must be mentally prepared for. God knows, from the time before I was a politician to now, I have had a huge psychological change. My will is certainly stronger. My skin is certainly thicker. I have more resolve. I have changed by all measure. I have been able to compartmentalize issues, manage my emotions, have the right psychology. Don't get me wrong, there's good and bad days. There's days you're like, man, why did I get into this? There's days you're like, this is the best job I have ever had in my life. But like any job, right? Now, young people must get into politics for the reason that the world is changing and changing fast. Now in the globe, we are talking about EVs. We're talking about cryptocurrency. We're talking about AI. The world is changing. And age is no longer a factor as much as it was before. Because of the tools and access to information, people grow very fast, mature very quickly, understand the world very quickly. And the human being has not really changed in 1,000 years in terms of how we act, how we behave, how we respond to things. History, these lessons repeat all the time. Presidents going after political opponents is the same way kings used to go after rivals, right? Thank God, then they just used to put you in the guillotine in the middle of town and cut off your head. You see, now they have to maneuver and use and scheme and use tools. One elder person once advised me, he told me, you're going into politics, but I advise you to sew through 3 suits when I was campaigning. I said, what do you mean? He's like, every politician must be prepared, because politics is what has replaced war. Politics is what has replaced war. Basically, in the most part, it's a diplomatic game where you must convince people through a democratic process. So it is a replacement of when you're the more powerful army, you go and conquer the other place. So basically, he said you need to sew 3 suits. 1, for in case you become the leader. 2, in case you get imprisoned. And 3, in case you get buried. It is that bad of a game. The Constitution and the processes that the Constitution guarantees, the democratic processes, is that what makes politics cleaner. But it has never been a clean sport, right? And every day you battle with the evils of politics. So this should not be something that should discourage our young politicians, because certainly it is a better time we are operating in. If you look at human history, this is the best time in human history. Right? Before, everybody would carry a sword, because you can have a sword fight anytime. Right? Now we walk freely. Right? We use our mouths as weapons. Right? So by any means, myself, Yankuba, the Yaya Menten Sanyangs, the MC Cham Juniors, the Lamin Sanes, the young politicians of the party should be a source of inspiration that we are rightfully in our place. Nobody should be discriminated because of age, whether you're too old or you're too young. What matters is the content of your character, is your intellectual capacity, is your will to serve your country, and the dedication you have to see through. And these are bumps on the way. These fights are important, but they are more important for the lessons we learn. So when we're in power, we don't exercise these fights on our opponents who will be weaker because they will be in opposition. As a young politicians, I think this is the lessons we should draw. We should not allow these fights to anger us or to change us to the point where when we come to power one day, we start exercising the same powers on our opponents. We should draw lessons from this and actually improve the system. And this is what the lesson I hope we, the crop of politicians, learn from this. You know, and this is actually the democratic principles of the UDP. You know, and this is why we push so hard, let there be reforms, let there be reforms. Because without these reforms, you will have MPP guys coming to you and say, we'll eliminate this guy, we're going to eliminate that guy, you know. And sometimes I wonder, we pray 5 times a day, we say we fast, but I don't think some of us believe in God.
Why?
Because how can you have that ill intention? Knowing that somebody may be innocent, and you still want to punish them, or you still want to exercise your will against them.
Because politics is
a behavior of a kafir. But that's why you should sanitize it with your religion and Islam. Or Christianity, you should sanitize it. Because when you want to go to your evil side, when your evil side speaks to you, you should think, I am a Muslim. And I should follow the teachings of the Prophet and follow the truth. So that's why sometimes these contradictions exist in our society. Somebody will wake up, Fajr, pray, go and pray 5 times a day, fast, take out zakat. The same guy is fornicating. The same guy is doing such criminal acts. So I think they should check the morality of what they're doing.
Now, look, you're talking about checking morality. Let's look at what is happening in the country. When the party leader was coming, I saw some women that were dancing. They were saying, Manu da kuyatale, Tulo da kuyatale, Jabo da kuyatale. And I say this all the time. I mean, the government said, and the president said this in his interview that he did, this responding to Dao. He said the economy is doing very well. He said, in fact, IMF, Mr. President, how did you do this? You know, and I said this here when I had show with Mahdi and Lamin Jidab. I said, look, sometimes when I talk to government officials, I know what I'm experiencing, and I know what my neighbor is experiencing, I know what another person. But when you talk to some people, they tell you, when they speak to you, and they believe in this, they believe that we're doing so well. And listening to the president yesterday talk about our economy, how we're doing so well, for international community, Kaiko, thank you so much. But I believe in the IMF boss, Kaiko, Mr. President, how did you do this? You're doing so well. Our recovery and I'm like, are we in a different country? What's your experience? What do you think? Are we doing well? Generally, where it comes from inflation, infrastructure, electricity, all of this. I believe we're doing well when it comes to roads because they have definitely New York. But apart from that, the other things. What's your what is your experience? What do you think?
So I think they're suffering from out of touch syndrome, and this is why 10 years is enough. I will emphasize that because when you start doing more than 10 years, remember, State House is a bubble. You're in a gated compound. Everything is provided. Anybody who wants to see you is because you want to see them. The people who surround you are most times sycophants who want to protect their own individual interests.
But Baro goes to buy a Kong at the market day.
Yeah, but
once in
a blue moon. But State House, for the most part, people will come there and tell you everything is great, how amazing you are, how handsome you are, how beautiful you are, how divine you are. They create rosy pictures, especially when they know the truth hurts you and you don't want to hear it, especially when it's a negative truth. And then the longer you stay there, you become in a bubble. That's why the best training ground actually is being a local leader, because there's no separation between you and the people. I don't decide who comes to my office. And if you come to my office, I don't have a way to escape you. The only way I can escape you is to walk past you, and I cannot do that. Right? So it is very important for our head of state to be in touch. Secondly, also, you must have empathy. To talk about the economy and the country like it's a joke. Oh, the Tubab said, I'm doing so well, I'm doing so well. When people are genuinely suffering. 90% of Gambians are suffering. I can tell you that for a fact. And they want yalna sutura yaga. Even people who look like they're doing well are not doing well.
Yeah.
One of my uncles once told me, mine Gambia fii ñu bari dañ dee mel ni dañu wér de dañu alright de wante ñu bari ñu ngi dox ak psychological problem related to scarcity. Scarcity brings domestic problems, gender-based violence, child abuse. You know, it brings a lot of community problems, diseases, sickness, lack of education. It has human development implications. So as a leader, you always have to have that empathy and that connection. Now you look at Gambia as a country and you talk about its economy. First of all, let's talk about our GDP, our gross domestic product. 30% of which comes from remittances.
Yeah.
Basically diasporans feeding their families from abroad. There is no productive base to feed the population. Almost 90% of food is imported.
Yeah.
Now imagine, we are growing a population based on imported food. We have a war in Israel or Gaza.
Yeah.
We have a war in Ukraine. What if a regional war breaks out? What if a world war breaks out? And now more than ever, we are closest to a third world war since 1945. We are closest to a third world war since the Cold War, sorry, in the 1970s. We are growing a population. Our population growth is based on imported food.
Yeah.
So we don't have food security. So if there's a global crisis, we will die of starvation. Because people are going to be worrying about their populations.
Yeah, first.
They're not going to export food.
COVID showed us.
Yeah. COVID showed us.
Yeah.
Where people were curtailing their exports, food exports.
Yeah.
Right? Number 3, look at our budget.
Yeah.
Right? The budget being presented. We are generating in tax revenue 19 billion. But our expenditure is 38 billion. The difference, 19 and 38, right, is based on grants and borrowing. So we are not generating enough tax to pay our own bills. So we are borrowing almost half of our expenses. We are depending on grants, which will also disappear when there are global shocks, and aid, and borrowing. And we are paying 3 billion out of that 19 billion on interest, on loans that have ballooned from the Yajame era of 48 billion to now 111 billion.
In just 7 years.
In just 7 years.
Yeah.
And we say we have the best economic growth in West Africa. I hear them both 6% or 7%, I don't know.
Yeah.
But look at inflation. Regular inflation, meaning the price of goods, is increasing 16% year on year. When it comes to food, inflation is 20%. If the price of bread was $8 last year, it's going to increase to $10 in next year. So when you have 6% economic growth, but the cost of goods is growing by 16%, are you growing?
No, you're not.
All right? So, look, these are just common sense figures that Gambia is in deep crisis. And any small problem in the global stage, we have a problem, huge problem. And you look at our youths, okay? You look at general poverty is 55% now. More Gambians are in poverty than Gambians that are not. And this is deep poverty, not just regular poverty. And then you look at our youths who are now, every day there's, people are giving birth. The population is growing drastically. The youths are not having jobs because the productive sector is not creating employment. So now you have 10,000 youths going irregularly to Europe every year. 10,000.
Wow.
Many of them are dying on the sea. So Gambia is in deep, deep crisis. You talk about infrastructure. One road being constructed, that's not infrastructure. That's why I said Gambia needs a master plan where we build very fast, but with a mindset of creating a productive sector that can repay these investments. It's not just about building roads, but what economic growth are you experiencing from these roads you're building? In China, their philosophy is if you want to be rich, build roads. Right? So true, there is a marginal improvement, but that's not enough to keep Gambia going. So basically, these are figures that are so drastic that every government person should be scared. Every Gambian should be scared about what the future holds. And especially now when there's global turbulence. Look at what's happening in the USA.
Yeah.
They were helping Israel with military aid. And then hurricanes and floods hit North Carolina and now Miami.
And Florida.
One of the biggest, Florida, one of the biggest hurricanes in history.
Last night, I don't know what.
They were so cash strapped, they could only give every family $750.
Yep. Yep.
Every family. They were so cash strapped, they could only give every family, the biggest and richest economy in the world, could only give every family about $45,000. And now they're even blaming them. Why are you sending billions for military adventure when our own people cannot even have a flood relief?
Yep.
So now imagine what will happen to Gambia if there was a disaster in the globe somewhere. Who will care about what Gambia is going through? And we are now part of the V20. Do you know what that is?
What is that?
You heard about the G20?
Yes, G20.
The 20 richest countries in the world.
G20, yeah.
We are part of V20, V.
The poor, is that the poor one?
20 most vulnerable countries in the world.
Oh my God.
I found out that at the
UN, when you went to UN?
When I went to the UN. I was like, what is V20? I know G20. And the current president is the former president of Maldives, the former chairman of the V20. And Gambia is a member of that list.
One of the most vulnerable countries.
20 of the most vulnerable countries in the world. Out of over 200 countries, Gambia is among the 20 most vulnerable. We're not even just poor.
We are vulnerable.
But we are at the brink of disaster.
That is serious.
It's serious. That is like we are on life support.
Even though I'm not an economist, and I said this last year when the MPC came out and they said the economy is doing well. I said, I'm not doing well. My neighbor is not doing well. I spoke to somebody, a woman, an entrepreneur. She is really good. If I tell you good, she's good. She told me for the past 15 years or so she's been in business. This summer, she has never experienced what she experienced this summer. Because I was telling her, I don't remember when last, I had a payment in my account. And I was complaining. She said, Fatou, man, for the past 15 years of my business, I cannot ever remember anything like Lima experience this summer be. And this is for so many people. And you talk to business people, they owe you, and you go there, just a problem. Government agencies. And the problems are, for example, how can our economy be good? Number one, our debt is 110 or 11. We are doing our currency is depreciating against all major currencies. The CFA, the dollar, the euro.
The dollar depreciated against the dollar by 30%.
All of the major currencies we are depreciating against. Also, the major financial boost that we have is from the diaspora. This last quarter, it has gone down significantly. Now, how are we doing well? If all of these things, all the indicators are whether we are depreciating or not against other currencies. What is our debt portfolio? The money that is coming from the diaspora. If all of those are negative, are not doing well, how are we doing as an economy? And I saw something that was striking for me. Juka did a video, Juka Sise, I must give a shout out to her. She did a video showing us, for example, that our debt is 110 billion. If you share that among us Gambians, dafa melni ku nekk yaa ngi owe 40,000. Léegi nag man suma kër ñaata nit a fa nekk, suma papa, suma maam, suma rakay, suma doom yi, suma njaboot yëpp boo ko calculé, that's how every Gambian owe pour ñu mun a fay suñ bor bi. For how long? And every year the fagina kuni. And this works very well with Senegal. I see them. They remind their people how much they're owing them. Senegal mom fana kuneka yagi o ñom ñoñu opale. Ñom ñoñu opale because obviously, and this is what governments do. Senegalese government, they did an audit of their system and they realized that actually all these numbers were cooked. If they said we are 5 point, it was 10 point. That was this and is opposite that. How are we doing well if all of these indicators are not, you are giving us these numbers and these numbers are not right?
Right. So Senegal, you operate for the reason they are richer than us, right? So if you have more debt than us, but you're richer than us, it balances out. But I think relative to our income, we are worse off than Senegal.
You think we are worse off?
We are worse off relative to our income.
Okay. Yes.
A country needs to have a productive base to be independent.
Okay.
You need to have businesses making money. You need to have sectors thriving, whether be it services, whether be it in tourism, whether be it in agriculture, education, etc. Meaning you need to plan your economy, right? So there's not much economic planning going in Gambia, right? We just let things happen and watch it sort of just happen, right? So basically, that's why I said Gambia needs a master plan, right, with a long-term view. But first, there needs to be restructuring, and that requires a lot of reforms in governance, right? So government is the engine that should, government is the regulator that should really put things in place, and then the private sector is the engine to make it happen, right? But government is the initiator. But if you're not taking time to think about your economy and thinking about your place in the world stage, what strategic advantages do you have? What comparative advantages do you have? What sort of access you can create in terms of markets? Because the way I see it, Gambia will be very difficult to pull ourselves out of poverty based on the current market we have. We are 2.4 million people in a tiny piece of land with no resources. So to build a productive base out of that, you need human capacity, which we don't have, because our people, for the most part, don't have the prerequisite skills or qualifications or education to be a service-driven economy. So Gambia must look outward. We must look at the sub-region as a source of income. We must look at Senegal, Mali, Guinea-Conakry as potential markets for Gambian services and goods. So we must be very strategic, very smart in the partnerships we create, in the alliances we make, and how we see ourselves in the global stage. But we must start to be first a serious government.
And this government?
Meaning we must bring in the right capacity. We must bring in the right policies, the right reforms to show the world that we are serious and we are ready to do business. So that we can go out and meet the world through as less privileged, poorer, but ready to grow, ready to do business.
Ready to do business.
Ready to invite investment. How come now we are surrounded by a francophone country, but English companies are not coming to Gambia? And the majority of the big corporations are mostly from English-speaking countries. But they would rather invest in Senegal than invest in Gambia.
Why is that? I think, why is that? Is it the environment? I know electricity might be one of them. So why is that? Why is it that we have more people investing in Senegal? Look at even our ports. Most of the transactions are diverted to Senegal. And one time the Postal Authority put on their page that, in fact, that is, if Senegal works, that is good for us. I don't know how that is.
So Senegal has effectively turned Gambia into a region of Senegal, and that's very smart of them. If I was a Senegalese, I would do the same thing, because I'm going to look at my national interests. They have built ports around us. Ziguinchor, south of Senegal. Ngayan, which is a new port coming online, $1 billion investment from Dubai World. They expanded the Dakar port, right, which is now the main port used by the neighboring countries in the sub-region. And they have St. Louis. They are surrounding us. Next thing, they're going to build an airport in Casamance. All right? So people who are going, they don't have to land in Banjul Airport. Right? So they are doing things to have strategic advantage over Gambia. I'm not saying they are rivals, but we should be smart and make us our partners, but on a fair level playing field, where it's win-win situations. When I say we must first have a serious government, is when people come to invest, it should be easy, it should be quick. Your policy should be straightforward, simple, and adaptable to the world stage for global companies. You must have very organized ministries, very organized sections of government, where when you come, people find things very seamless and easy. Your laws must be very straightforward and correct. Your staff in the government must have the capacity and the motivation to want to be there and must be well paid. You must take out the garbage, the rubbish, the excesses, travel, per diems. Every person wants to have a luxury SUV. So there must be serious reforms, but ingrained in a larger vision and direction. And that's why I said the NDP sounds lofty and nice. Yiriwa, oh, these are nice things. But what is your real goal? Is it that in 10 years, you want Gambia's GDP to grow 5x? You want the GDP per capita to be $10,000 per person from $500 per person? What is your human development goals? Right? What are the capacities you want in your country? What is the economic indicators you want to hit? What are the facilities and amenities you want in your country? If you have that figured out, then you work backward to the foundation. And that is reform and structure. And this is why we voted for President Barrow in 2016, to bring reforms. Right? We had the goodwill. We had the pity.
Yeah.
The entire world pitied us for what we've gone through over 22 years. They were ready to help. Right? But we should have shown our seriousness for change by bringing in a new constitution that is very democratic and guarantees the basic human rights of individuals.
People say UDP will share the blame to that. You were an integral part of the 2017 change, and they said, a lot of people say, okay, well, look at reforms. At
the end of the day, even if you want to blame UDP, which I don't agree with, because the source of our disagreement is the refusal to do some of these things and the self-perpetuation into power, right? President was more focused on how do I stay rather than how do I leave a good legacy, right? During those days, my idea was, oh, Barrow could do 3 years, stick to his promise, drop down. If he wants to go on holiday or go develop himself, he can. And in 2 years, he could come back. So Dabo could have served as president for 2 years, and Barrow could have come back in 2021 and ran a 2-term with a new constitution under a UDP government. That was my idea, and this is the first time I have said it publicly. It would have been a win-win situation. But of course, he was penetrated by, of course, people who saw opportunity, who were looking at their own self-interest. And he wanted to self-perpetuate himself into power. But of course, if you go, it's going to be like, well, you know, Dabo also wanted to do this hearsay. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, in 2019, he had full control.
Yeah.
And 2019 to date is how many years?
That's a long time.
2019 to date is 5 years.
5 years.
He had 5 years, full control. You can no longer blame UDP for 2 years of your presidency. To bring in all these reforms and leave a wonderful legacy, where even if we don't belong to the same party, we will always say, to be honest, Barrow is the person who brought the reforms.
Wow. Now, one thing me and so many people, man, I complain about it every single day, is NAWEC, the electricity. Yeah. One thing though, I must say, just before coming into the show, there was an incident in Manjai. They had serious issues, and then we did a story on that. And when we went there, did a story, because the community at 8 o'clock, dunde am courant. So ñu talé rek dunde am, because ñu nek transformer bi fa neka munta, the capacity cannot take it.
Right.
So this is for the past 3 years, this is the problem of those residents in Manjai.
Right.
And they told us, we did a story on it. And the lady called me right before I came into the show and said, the problem has been fixed. He said, I want to call and thank you. The NAWEC, I think one of the directors, or I don't know, the managing director, called one of the guys that was on the interview and tried to find his number, call Konyo, we're sorry about this. I didn't know about this. I just came in. I didn't know about this. I think it's the managing director.
Right.
I promise we are going to fix it, and they fixed it. It's not that they're not having issues, but they're having common issues like all of us.
Right.
That has been fixed. So I want to give that. I want to thank NAWEC for that. You know, but generally, I mean, NAWEC has gone bad again, all over again. When the government came in 2017, I remember when the president visited, the NAWEC infrastructure was really bad. Right. I remember having the entire NAWEC management on my show. That show was, the objective for me was, come out. I went to them myself, I said, come out. Tell the people what you're going through. managing director, director of water, director of distribution. I had 8 directors on my show. We had a we had an open conversation. After the show, a lot of Gambians said, oh my God, we didn't know this is what NAWEC went through. People sympathized with them because we knew what they had gone through the 22 years of Jammeh. They told us what they had gone through, what they were, and what the plan was. And the plan was, in few years, we would not go through what we have gone through. And the president himself promised us that. And the president said recently that NAWEC has excess capacity. And I'm thinking, President Barrow, who is telling the president these things? And these are serious things. I did a TikTok video on audio on that, and people started sending it to me, and I deleted it. You know, I was just having fun and enjoying this conversation because, you know, I was just, you know, sometimes I'm a deaf mom. I was doing that. But the seriousness of these things, for example, one time, President unity. And I'm thinking, but Marse, and then you tell us these things, and then now you tell us the economic is good. I'm not doing well. But again, you're telling us, Kurang, I'm not bedes. And we're all seeing what is happening right now. So these are serious issues. In America and other countries, when you mislead the president, when you tell the president stuff that are not right, and he says it, you go to jail for stuff like that. These are serious issues.
So let me make a bold prediction that NAWEC can never be effective, efficient in the current business model it is in.
Seriously?
Yes. Because economics is all about human behavior, it's the study of human behavior. The reason NAWEC is failing is why communism failed, right? State-run enterprises are not sustainable. It's a monopoly. It's a monopoly which has no owner, meaning the public owns it, is the government, meaning the incentive is not there to make a profit. The incentive is not there to run efficiently. So you will see problems of bloated costs, inefficiencies everywhere, no will or desire to fix chronic issues or to keep the service running and stable. So NAWEC is operating. I'm not sure what economic model Gambia has taken. I'm still not clear on that. Are we a capitalist society? Are we a socialist society? Are we a social capitalist society? We are definitely not a communist society, that we know.
We're not now.
But first we need to know what
I don't think we are a socialist also.
So we need to know what economic model as a country we are running, right? Secondly, the government then needs to decide what they should engage in and what they should not engage in based on the economic model. Because if you're a purely capitalist society, government traditionally does not run any businesses. They leave everything to the private sector and they focus on regulation. If you're a social capitalist like Canada, where I lived in, government does look at certain essential services and they run it just because they are so critical, like healthcare or certain services that they feel that if the private sector ran it, they would exploit the population.
Yeah.
So once we decide that, then I think the business model of NAWEC should be decided upon. Because as far as I'm concerned, NAWEC should be is the best business in the world. You're selling an essential commodity, which everybody uses. It's essential, meaning everybody needs it. Everybody must consume it.
Everybody will pay.
You're the only one providing it. You can set any price you like, and still people will still not have a choice but buy it.
Yeah.
You should be the most profitable company in Gambia by far. Everybody uses it. You set any price, you're the only supplier. It is an inelastic, in economics they call it an inelastic product. Meaning no matter what price you charge, people will buy.
Will buy.
Right? Elastic products are when the price goes down, demand increases. When the price goes up, demand falls. But this, any price you charge, people are going to buy it. So you should be the most profitable product in the Gambia.
But why are we not though?
Because it should not be a state-run enterprise. Now, for me, from my point of view, this should be privatized. Allow more entrants into the market, create competition. Right? If today you were connected to a power company and they cannot give you stable electricity, you can switch.
Yes.
Right? So things like that, you must create competition. right? And then you as a regulator, you can set the prices. You can still control how much they charge, right? Similar to what is happening on telecoms. I'm not saying it's as simple, but there are models around the world that you can use.
Yeah.
In the US, they separate generation from distribution.
And states control it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the US, they choose what models,
Yeah.
but it's a mixture of private sector and government run, right?
Yeah.
So there are many lessons to draw upon, right? When the president says, oh, we are creating excess capacity, maybe he's right. Because the generation, from my understanding, is not the problem, it's the distribution.
Yeah.
And they're losing a lot of energy from the
Distribution.
leakage at the distribution, and is prone to weather activities. Of course, the irregular nature of our society is prone to so many hazards. It's aging wires and cheap, probably installations. But you're in Senegal and you're there for weeks and you never have power interruption.
But
and you
our
wonder what is
problem is
happening.
in Gambia.
Yeah.
When it rains,
Yeah.
now it goes, power goes. It is only in the
That's
Gambia.
an infrastructure problem.
Because
Yeah.
when it's raining and it is dark, that is when you need power. Anyway.
Sometimes I wonder, because it hasn't rained yet. The sky gets dark.
Yeah.
It's almost like the wire is afraid or something, and the power goes.
Power goes. No,
I look
seriously.
out, and it's just dark, and then the power goes.
No,
I'm like,
absolutely.
and now wire and you ragal.
And mentally, daf ñu dal man di ma suma kër dafa nawet dafa dem ñi am backup ma janga wi ma ya kurang tata la ndun nawet samale be keri so man hani ka power bank mala samale be keri as if sama is a problem.
Because
that's what we are used to.
born in that, and now it's created a psychological scar. So in the morning, I was going with my brother to the gym, and he said, "Oh, you know, now I tried. It rained last night, and they didn't go off." I'm like, that is your pen for success.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm not an expert in this area, but all I'm saying is the economic model, because people work with incentive, and state-run enterprises have been proven to fail over and over and over again because of inefficiencies. All right? So there are models that work around the world, and I think they must be understudied. And Gambia is such a small market.
Yeah.
It's one of the tiniest markets in the world where you don't have a huge demand. So keeping power stable and sustainable should not be a huge crisis, right?
So currently Senegal is supplying the entire upcountry,
Right.
and part of us here,
Right.
and also how do you call it, car power,
Right.
in the board BC Gateway.
Right.
And the thing is, last few weeks ago, we had the minister said we were owing Senegal 10 billion. That is for 3 months bill, right?
Wow.
If that's what we are paying for 3 months.
10 billion
CFA.
CFA.
If that's what we are paying, that's like almost $10 million, right?
Every 3 months.
If that's what we are paying for 3 months, how much are we paying for 1 year? That is different from what we are paying car power.
Right.
How is NAWEC able to pay these bills to Senegal, Senelec, and car power, and also be able to develop its infrastructure to be able to, at some point, say, we don't need this number of megawatts from Senegal and car power, now we're on our own? Because they're taking on so much. They have to, sometimes I look at it and I'm thinking, I don't know if do I blame NAWEC? Because they have to make sure I have power. That's why they have to get some from NAWEC, Senegal. They also have to pay car powership to give us, and these are bills they have to pay. Now, where do they get the money to develop their obsolete infrastructure to be able to give us 100% electricity? At what, when do we get this?
Right. So I'm sure if you advertise for international investors, you would have many people willing and ready to take up NAWEC. You could also break it up and realize that, look, as a country, I'm not very good at running things. Why don't I outsource them and regulate them, right? And charge my taxes and earn my fees and control the prices. We have Pura here. I mean, doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result is the definition of crazy, right? So basically, I think the model in which they're operating, what NAWEC is facing is a historical issue. It's not happening today. This has been happening since we were born.
Yeah.
Right? Gambians, when we travel, we are energy is a luxury. We can't believe we're in a country where power does not go off.
Yeah.
Right? So basically now we are still facing this problem after 3 presidents. Right? So we couldn't say, oh, Jawara was the bad one, Yahya Jammeh fixed it. Oh, Yahya Jammeh was the bad one, Barrow fixed it. On the 3 presidents, this is an issue that's been going on. So it cannot be about the leadership. It's probably the economic model. Right? So I think that should be understudied. That's why I keep reaffirming. Disclaimer, I am not an expert on energy policy or how to develop energy roadmaps or the business model of the energy sector. My best guess is that public sector enterprises.
Oh, no, wait. Fail my ACB, new type power bank, isn't it?
So it's off, huh?
Yeah, it's off. But we are on. We are live. But we are still on. We know what to do with them because
we are still on. People.
Yeah, we are on.
So
let me tell you.
That is hilarious.
Every single show, I tell my team, make sure we are connected to the backup. We are connected to the OV van when it comes to power.
Maybe they heard what I'm saying. They say, Bensouda.
But this is what happens every show. Every show. And how can we do business if, as a business, you always have to make sure my solar is okay, I have to have NAWEC, and I have to all of this. How can you survive? This is
and running, now people are moving to solar. I believe the guy watching. So basically, the investment you need for solar, the investment you need for all these things, the initial investment is a lot of money. Although long term, over 20 years, you'll make a savings. Right? The money you were going to spend on a generator is just too unreasonable. Right? So that's not sustainable. So NAWEC need to fix. It has to be fixed. But for me, Gamtel has gone bankrupt. Right? Same as Gamtel, it's gone bankrupt. And if Gamtel was still an essential service, it would just be like NAWEC. It would be in existence but struggling. But because now of telecoms, they've privatized the sector. How many times do you go on your phone and telecoms has gone down? It's very rare.
It's very rare. Right? I also feel like at some point government is trying to, all of our national institutions, you know, they privatize them. And like, for example, for me, for Gamcel, I believe government did us bad because the policies that they introduced, before you open the gateway where Gamcel make their resources, you know, this institution have been really beaten down by the former regime. We have seen what happened at the commission. Before you liberalize and let other players do this, fix Gamtel first. Let them have the required resources. Help them change their infrastructure. This is the infrastructure being that is what they are laying on up to now. You expect them to compete with Africell? They cannot. When Africell wants to put up a tower in Kotu now, they'll do it in 2 days because they don't go through all those procedures.
That's why it's better to privatize. That's why I'm saying this is the inefficiencies. Gamcel could not compete against Africell and QCell because these are private sector players. They decide quickly. They're efficient. They're money-making institutions. They're smart with their money. They invest in quality things. Gamcel is a bureaucracy. Right? It's not a private sector player, so it's not impossible for them to compete. So basically, look at the state-run enterprises. What happened in Gam Petroleum? Huge scandal. Huge loss of resources. Right? And I think they're still a monopoly, or I don't know if they have a competition now in Jar Oil and the others who were building depots. But look at the history of state-run enterprises across the world. What happened in Russia? They all collapsed and government sold the state assets to the oligarchs. That's how the oligarchs were created. Right? So all the communist countries, look at China, communist China. Right? A lot of the state-run enterprises did not exist after a while. Eventually they created a hybrid model. What serves their people and their political philosophy. Right? We should also understudy why these parastatals keep failing and never make money. And what was even more interesting is, I think 3 years back, I saw government subsidizing parastatals. These are investments that should have made government money.
When they take loan, government guarantees them, and it's just...
But let me tell you, my view, parastatals have historically been a political tool for leaders. Right? It's a source of resources in case they say, oh, Gamcel, you know, I have a gala dinner, buy my tickets. And the CEO, of course, he has no choice. He has to buy the ticket.
Yeah.
He reports to a board that is appointed by the head of
Or
state.
the president goes on tour. I remember I was working at Gamtel. When the president goes on tour, I was the marketing manager. We print T-shirts, flyers, because
It's a political tool.
Yeah.
Oh, I have 1,000 militants, hire them.
Yeah.
Right? So that's for me, my point of view, why heads of state like to keep them state-run enterprises to maintain control of a very vital resource. But that is causing major losses for the citizens of the country and major inefficiencies in the running of the country.
Wow.
Right.
Now, I know it's 8 o'clock, but we have so much to discuss.
Oh,
I'm going to take you for another 30 minutes, huh?
Okay, no
30
problem.
minutes, because I want us to look at, because don't forget telling you, so no, you are right. Don't forget telling you. But let's look at the rate of crimes in the country. I mean, I think for the past few weeks, deguma a lot of these things, but recently, degana in Lubari, homicides, you know, other issues you have, what do you think the police are doing? You think the police are maintaining, you know, the crime rate to go down in the country?
So I have utmost respect for the Gambian police force for many reasons. I still believe they don't have their full independence. I still think there's a lot of political interference. There's not enough guarantees by law to keep them independent. But with the little tools they have, they do wonders. They almost certainly catch criminals very close to when the crime has happened. In America, they say 48 hours, right? Within 48 hours, if you don't catch a criminal, it becomes substantially more difficult, right, to catch them, right? But our police, we see within 24 hours, with limited resources and little technology and basically just their networks, they can basically arrest relatively very quickly. A lot of them also love their work, and you can see they have the passion, right? They have the desire, but they're lowly paid. They don't have enough working tools, and they don't have a good judiciary or a resource judiciary to basically prosecute or basically process their cases in a relatively short period of time. So many of them do complain about repeat offenders being let go without any charges, just because the judiciary is overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of your direct question about crime, the crime-related activities are due to societal changes. One, Gambia is experiencing, I just learned that actually because I went to basically my trip to New York was on the invitation of the Mayor's Migration Council.
Okay.
Right, so basically I was with the Mayor of Amman, Mayor of Chicago, Montreal, and Bristol.
Yeah.
And basically, they were coming up with statistics about what is happening within the sub-region. And apparently, Gambia is a net immigration country in the sense that neighboring countries, citizens are moving here more than we are moving to their countries. All right? So our relationship is that immigration into Gambia versus emigration outside Gambia to the sub-region is significantly higher. So we're attracting a lot of people from Mali, Guinea-Conakry, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, etc. Right? So that's, of course, adding population pressure. The birth rate is very high. Based on our customs and our traditions, contraception is not a thing, and our religion.
Yeah.
So people believe in having big families, even though they don't have the resources to sustain them, especially now that we have inflation, we have rising cost of living, you know. So basically, with all these increases in population pressure, and then our economy doesn't have a productive base. It's not generating enough employment, not generating enough economic opportunities. What you have now is the same pie, but more people to share it.
That's right.
Government income is not increasing by a lot. The same people are depending on those government incomes to serve them, to build the clinics, to build the schools, to build the roads. So our infrastructure, our health infrastructure, our education infrastructure, our road infrastructure, our waste management infrastructure are all under intense pressure. So what happens? Lots of unemployment, lack of opportunity, high crime rate. A lot of use and abuse of illicit drugs, the Kush pandemic.
Yeah.
And that results to domestic violence.
Violence, yeah.
Right? It results to gang violence, destitute youths. Some go, 10,000 irregularly, 1,200 are deported. They come back with psychological issues from the journey, PTSD.
Yeah.
Right? They have post-traumatic stress disorder from the experience they have. I just actually discovered how some of them even go with the boat.
Yeah.
I thought they had a captain who will captain them all the way to Spain, drop them and come back.
Oh, no.
Apparently they train a captain on the spot and a navigator. They give this one a compass and that one they show you how to steer. They push you to sea.
It's a very serious...
Right? So these guys are coming back with a lot of stress. Right? And they are back into our society. No money in your pocket. You feel ashamed. You have PTSD. You're quick to anger.
Yeah.
So this is why the high crime rate, and it's just going to get worse because these population indicators are not getting any better. These economic indicators are not getting any better. So the youth, that should have been a huge asset for a country that has no resources. Your human resource is your only valuable asset. And for some countries, that's the greatest asset, more than even the natural resources. Our resource, the human resource, is turning into a human liability. Because if you can't empower your people, they turn into a problem. And this trend continues for the next 10 years. We will have huge societal problems in Gambia. We've seen it in some of the Caribbean countries. We've seen it in some African countries, right? We've seen it in some US neighborhoods. Right? In the richest country in the world, because of lack of opportunity in some neighborhoods, gang violence every day, murder.
Yep.
You know, so we must look at these issues seriously and have a plan. That's why governance is not a joke. That's why the quick to laughter and the quick to joke about governance by our president and many politicians is quite appalling. Gambians have nothing to laugh about and nothing to celebrate.
Yeah.
There's always more people crying than people laughing.
Yeah.
Every day people come to my bolo kolayata sign, blah blah blah. You know, coals, prices, you know, they are too much, etc. You know, they're always crying. Every day, every morning, every night. You know, so we must have serious policies of intervention to basically change this trend. Or what's going to happen in the next 20 years, Gambia will not be a governable state because the crime will just be too high. And where a crime will happen in Burfoot and you can just move to Jara. Burfoot and Jara are not very far from each other.
Yeah.
You know, so if there's crime in one place, consider that there will be crime everywhere.
Everywhere.
And Gambia, there's no segregation between rich and poor in terms of how we live. So nobody can say, I'm going to build a tall fence around me and protect myself. So you better try and uplift people around you.
Yeah.
And the number one responsibility of that is the government.
It's the government. Now let's look at your travels.
Yeah.
You know, you went to my favorite politician of all times. Oh my God, oh my God. You know, I tell the only party I claim is PASTEF.
Really?
Okay, yeah, I'm
So Kerr Fatou.
Wow, Kerr Fatou. Female, we never all them are content, them are celebrate. You know, I said, you know, I am so inspired by Usman Sonko to a point, like I can say or do anything. I don't look at. Because that's the mindset of the PASTEF mindset, and that's what I love about that ideology. So we have our group, me, MC Alajingom, and my sister. We are those PASTEF people. So, you know, we know that there's an internal discussion. So when I saw you with him, I was, I was amazed. How is he doing? And what was I know you went to visit my brother Jamil San and Mayor Farsel, but you also met with Osman. How was that visit? How is he doing?
Yeah, so Usman Sonko is an inspiration for youths in the sub-region.
Yes.
Including myself. He is selling an ideology.
Yeah.
If adopted by Africa as a whole, I think we'll go a long way in how fast we develop and how much we are respected in the world.
Yeah.
Similar to Thomas Sankara, Haile Selassie, a lot of these dreamers in the past, they are selling Pan-Africanism.
Yes.
And this is the integration of African states into a confederation of African states or into a United States of Africa.
Yeah.
And it's a very lofty dream. It is something that is an aspiration that, if achieved, will make the United States of Africa or the Confederation of African States one of the most powerful and respected countries in the world.
Wow.
At the end of the day, what is the United States of America? It is 50 countries, I can dare say, that came together to form United States. Every state is like a country.
Yeah.
By size, by economy.
Yeah.
If California was a country, it would be the 4th biggest economy in the world.
New York City.
If New York State was an economy, I think it would be number 9. If Texas was an economy, I think it would be number 11 or something like this. But we are weaker, and America would have been weaker if they were just individual countries, right? Instead of a United States. And this is why they're the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah.
So basically, this is a similar dream, although more complex, because where America was a startup from scratch, and they built it like that, Africa is a combination of established states already, with 1,000 customs, thousands of tribes, different religions. There's various complexities. But their dream is, if we can put away some of these differences and look towards what unites us, and have some level of cooperation, and we can manage to have some level of cooperation that ties us together, even stronger than the African Union. We are talking about single currencies. We are talking about security treaties. We are talking about trade routes and opening up infrastructure. No visas. We just have an African passport, or our passports can even have AU at the bottom, and you can freely go to South Africa, etc.
Yeah.
Our economies will grow exponentially. Even today, if you look at Africa as a combined economy, disjointed, if we combine, we will be the 6th biggest GDP in the world.
Wow.
Yes. We would be right there after India as the 6th biggest economy. We would be the 3rd biggest population after China and India. We will have about the 9th biggest army or strongest army. But by far, we will have the biggest prospects because all the resources are here. And we would be respected. Because if you put visas on us, we put visas on you.
Oh, well.
Trust me.
Yep.
It's nice to go to Europe, but it's nicer to come to Africa. If you don't have access to the entire African market, you will suffer.
You will suffer.
All right? All the new chips, the technology, the cell phones, it's cobalt. It's all here. Right? So basically, this is the dream, and that's why I was inspired. Right? For me, that is what inspired me. Not the controversies, not the push and pull, although you have to respect the man.
Yeah.
When you meet him, you notice he's resolute. You see an inner strength. You see somebody who has a high degree of integrity. Knock on wood, I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years.
Yeah.
But as I met him, immediately you see that this is why people respect the guy. But what struck me more, he's just a guy, boilerek.
Yeah.
Because down to earth.
Down to earth.
You can chat like friends. I mean, he's 48, I'm 38 soon. I'm 38 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same generation. So that's what I love most, is like, you could chat and you could laugh and you could joke.
Yeah.
You know, so great guy, great journey, great vision. And I pray for him and wish him the best of luck to see the Senegal he wants,
Yeah.
but to start the journey of the Africa he wants. And if many people are inspired by that, and many people, many young people, like you asked about, young people get into it, and we buy into that concept.
We are all inspired.
In 20, 30, 40, 50 years,
Yeah.
when we are all past, you know, youths will be born into us a concept that would be easier to implement.
Yeah.
And Africa then has a bright future, right? So that trip for me was about learning more of the PASTEF ideology and what drove them. Because frankly, I was a supporter in their fight for struggle. Because I drew similarities with the UDP and the struggle. And clearly they were being bullied. They were facing a dictatorship. They were being killed and maimed, similar to the UDP story. So immediately there was a connection and sympathy. But that sympathy and connection would have stopped after just the human rights issues. But the desire to go and make that connection was about division. And I was not disappointed. So one of the best political meetings I've ever had.
Yeah, I'm amazed. And I know that was going to be their reaction. And trust me, I believe if PASTEF succeed in having the Senegal that they want, it will have a huge impact in the entire Africa. Because we have seen how his journey has inspired young people in the sub-region. And if they succeed, it will help to change a lot in the different countries in the region. And I think that is why a lot of us wish them to succeed. But the Gambia-Senegal relationship, before, when the election was going on, I said this here on my show, we are so disadvantaged when it comes to trade relations with Senegal. Everything else, they are winning. We were just getting bits and pieces. For somebody like Usman and Jomai, they believe in Pan-Africanism. And if that's what they believe in, we should be able to go back to them on the drawing board and say, look, our trade laws are not favorable. Let's look at them. Let's go back to the table and look at these and have a win-win situation. Because if we don't do that, what had happened in Macky Sall's time will continue, and we are not getting any advantages. Look at what happened with the cement issue. I believe, people can say it's different, but I believe the reason why Senegal imposed the embargo on basalt is because of the cement issue. Because I know somebody, I know somebody in government that is a young mom, TSN cement be. He said it jokingly, but it sounded like they were serious about it, because this is a new government that just came, and then you add taxes from 30 to 180. Naturally, they're going to look at it as being hostile towards them. All of a sudden, few months down the line, and they're telling us, oh, we need all our basalt in our country. So they're not giving us basalt anymore. Does that look like a coincidence, or does that look like they're trying to, show us their muscles? And we don't want Senegal to show us their muscles. And I tell somebody, Usman Sonko, and we don't want to be in those kind of situations. What kind of relationship should we look at between us and Senegal? So we always had a good relationship.
So certainly we should never have a bad relationship with Senegal, ever. It's not in anybody's best interest. Trade war doesn't help anybody. There's certainly more benefits to cooperation, but especially because of the way our borders are. Also the connections at every level. We are the same people, literally, just divided by colonial history. There should be no cause for disagreement. We speak the same local languages. So one thing Gambia should always watch out for, of course, is not being exploited.
Yes, definitely.
Is ensuring that there's always a win-win situation. But more can be achieved in dialogue than basically confrontation. And if people can remove their egos and look at what is in the best interest of the Senegambia, these should be easily resolved. Right? So we will have concerns, they will have concerns. But it's give and take. We cannot win it all, they cannot win it all, certainly. We must look at the mutual benefit of both players. Right? So I'm not sure how the misunderstanding with the cement started. Maybe it's protectionism. Trying to make sure your industry thrives.
It's protected,
but I'm not sure if there's a basalt. I know there's rumors. I know our government is taking steps to look at other sources.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in effect yet. I think there's just rumors and they're preempting each other. But I think there's a lot unsaid that should be said. And the only way is dialogue. If I was, in the Gambia government, I would say, look, let's just call them to a meeting ground and talk, frankly. What's the problem, right? What is are you concerned about anything? And I think there should be no room where there should be a tit for tat, right? So in fights, people don't even remember how it started. And they just start fighting each other for no reason, right? So Gambia and Senegal cannot afford to have strenuous relations. We've seen it in the past. It didn't help anybody. And certainly you can never divide the people. It's impossible. It's impossible. Governments may not like each other, but the people can never be divided. I have aunties in Dakar. I have so many relatives there. And so does everybody. Right? So it's something that we should be very tactical about, and engagement. My recommendation is engagement.
Now let's look at your trip to the UN. There was this reporting that UNCDF grant, you're bringing a lot of money for us in KMC.
Right.
26 million? That's a lot of money.
Right. So I want to make it clear, because I see there's a lot of misconceptions, possibly wrong reporting on the issue. The UNCDF is not giving KMC any grants. We don't have any grants approved. What we have is a pipeline transaction, which is a proposal submission for a potential $26 million project. I want to see where it is and if it is possible. But there is no grant approval. There is no money coming to KMC. I did not bring $26 million in a briefcase. But I think people just got excited. But I want to make it categorically clear. There is no approval from UNCDF for $26 million. There is no project approval. It is a pipeline transaction. Right, for a project submission, proposal submission we made of up to $26 million for various things we want to do in KMC, which I knew is submitted, and I went to see where it was. So I just want to make that.
And where is that fund at all?
Right, basically it's in under consideration, but no decision has been made
yet. Now let's look at politics.
Oh man, this is the one that takes the most energy.
I know, right? Politics.
Oh, politics, my God.
Mayor, I'm going to be frank. The allegations are you are trying to build an institution in an institution.
Right.
Talib kabe kafo lola na kafo kono. Kafo kono kafo teleke. So se lol ndewa.
Wow.
Ni ko be kafo lola kafo kono aka kafo teleke.
Right.
And this is the allegation.
Right.
You are trying to do a borough in UDP.
Right.
Lulen borough defon. Sampa borough youth movement sirong. Sampako jël ko def ko NPP ci biir UDP ñu ne nak lolu ñom bobu mom duñ ko nangu ñu ne Talib is trying to build an institution in an institution.
Right.
What do you say to people who said Talib is trying to break the UDP, he's grooming his own people, he is doing everything to be the next flag bearer of UDP, he is building an institution inside an institution?
Right. First of all, I want to say it's politics. People have different opinions. People have different people they like, they follow. Even in any company, everybody has an office they answer to. My office is the organizing secretary's office. So naturally, the campaign manager reports to me, the deputy organizing secretary, the deputy campaign manager. So if you want to back that group as a CAFO within a CAFO, that's unreasonable. Right? Because when you look at the people I work with on a daily basis in the party, those are the people. When you look at the people that are accused of being part of my team, those are the people. It's in the campaign and organizing structures. But I am the campaign and organizing chairperson. Now, of course, when we come to party politics, the future of the party, many people have different opinions. And certainly, I'm not going to sit here and deny that I have not heard opinions about me and my prospects. But I have had opinions about me and my prospects since I entered into politics, right? Which is natural. Every politician in the UDP, at least every prominent politician has people who have a view that they could be the next leader. But that is not within my control. I cannot control what people perceive of me, what people's opinion is of me. Some are liking me, some don't like me, which is natural. But we must be mature. UDP is a democratic party.
How democratic?
Well, as far as our constitution is concerned, our policies are concerned, and in practice, yes, many things we have done is democratic. When you look at our selection of candidates, when you look at our Congress, yes, it's not pretty, but it is democratic. Sometimes the person you expect will win, or the person you want to win, and the person you campaign for does not win. We've had it at every level, from the councillor level, from the MP level, to the mayoral level. Now, the reason why this one is much talked about, because it's the highest position in the party. That's why everybody is just talking. But I was not aware that there were applications open for that position. Now, people will look at politicians and start to analyze their movements and start to study them and try to preempt them. I guess is normal, right? But every politician must always continue to build their base, must always continue to do politics.
Even outside of your constituency?
Of course.
Just
every politician.
Okay.
Every politician I have come across has kafus that have made them fathers across the country, every prominent one, even the ones that are not holding offices. They have children in Basse, they have children in Jara, they have children in Didi. Everybody. It's normal. When a kafu comes to you and says, oh, I really like you, I want to make you the father of our group, you're not going to say no. Right? And every politician likes that. Everybody likes to be appreciated. Everybody wants to build their platform for whatever the future may hold. Maybe your platform is big enough to be a minister. Maybe your platform, you want to be an MP. Maybe you want to be something else. So what we should refrain from as a party to maintain unity and sanity is to stop accusing each other.
Talking about accusations.
Right.
You have been accused of
so many things.
Trying to push Dabo away.
I don't have.
Is that what you do?
I don't have the power.
Because I want to be very straightforward to what I
let me tell you, I don't have the power. I don't have the power nor the desire. Right? Dabo is a father figure to all of us. He's an iconic figure of the party. He's almost like a spiritual leader. So basically, he's somebody that we all adore. I personally love and respect. Right? When people say he wants to push it, where is this evidence coming from? Right? You did not hear it from my mouth. You did not hear Talib told anybody. It's because you hear opinions. Oh, I prefer Talib as a leader. How could you blame another grown person's opinion on me? But the fact of the matter is, this is said about everybody. Many prominent politicians in UDP have people who have openly come out and say, I prefer this guy as our leader. But nothing is ever said about that.
And that's my next question.
Right, so why is Talib, if somebody says that about Talib, it becomes a whole controversy.
Why is it that? Because I have said openly, I want the Yankuba, you know, because that's my kind of leader, right? Other people have said Rohilo, other people have said Lamin San. I've seen people say that, but whenever it's Talib, it's always a controversy. Why? Is it because you're doing too much, or why is it that? Why is it that?
I don't know. So it's a target that's been on my back since I've entered politics. And this is coming both from the NPP and the UDP. I expect it from the NPP. They're our rivals, right? I don't expect them to say anything good about me. I only expect bad things. But I certainly don't expect it from UDP, right? Even if there was an opening, which I'm not aware yet, right? Even if there was an opening, we compete on a healthy basis, because if you defeat the other camp, or you defeat Talib, and you are the one who are selected, you certainly need Talib's support and willingness to support you. So this is where the maturity comes in place. Now, UDP is a party of process, right? It is what is written in our constitution. But of course, there's an unsaid rule when it comes to Dabo. We all revere, we all respect, we all adore him. He has not stated his position. You know, he has not stated his position. So why are you forcing others to state their position? Right? I hear people say, Talib must come out and say he's not interested in the flag.
No, Lamin, I want to come there. One of your executive members,
I'm not going to name names.
my uncle Lamin, I think he's a frequent person on this show. He said that you should come out and declare that you are not interested, you are not running.
Why would I ever do that in any world? Number one, I don't owe anything to anybody to say that. Number two, it is highly undemocratic, and that is not UDP's values. Number three, it is not the time. Number four, our party leader has clearly repeated time after time after time after time, stop this flag bearer topic. Let's focus on holding government accountable. When the time comes, I, the party leader, will chart the way, will tell you what's going to happen in the next few months. So basically, I want all our militants to calm down, to focus. I certainly have not declared what my interests are, and I will not at this point in time. I will not at this point in time. When the time comes, and I know what I want to do, then I will state it. And I have made it categorically clear. I said, I am a citizen of this country. Right? You can insult me, you can say whatever you want, but I have my democratic rights. My choice to be, I chose UDP. I chose UDP because I subscribe to its values. I love the party. I love the party leader as our leader, and I highly respect him and revere him for everything he has done for this country. And I will till the day I die. I know the reason sometimes I am very comfortable and calm. I say, well, you know, look at the people who are saying these things. As far as I'm concerned, the person who I most care about, who I listen to the most, who is the party leader, is 100% confident in me, 100% adores me, 100% supports me. So at the end of the day, is opinions. But what I also don't want, I don't want these push and pull, these rivalries, these perceived threats to keep damaging the insides of the party.
The accusation is you are the one foiling these people who are on your team.
In what way?
They said, Yunus Haidar, I'm going to say it.
Right.
Yunus.
Right.
Yunus Sambokala. They said you
Which I discovered when Yunus said it.
They said you are related to Yunus.
Right.
And people like Mark Jani
Right.
and others who support you,
Do you know I have never met Mark Jani?
They said you were the one
look,
telling these people to fight your cause, and all of the people who said Talib for president.
I have never spoken on the phone with Mark Jani. I don't have a relationship with Yunus. The first time I heard him talking about we have a relationship, I think was around this controversy. And I found that it's true through a Jawara Kunda connection. Yeah. These are opinions of people who have their own opinions. But I have had opinions that diverge from these people who are marking other candidates, other than the party leader and myself. But why is it so devastating when somebody says, oh, Talib is my preferred leader? Why? Why is that so devastating? That is that person's opinion, and you certainly cannot tie that person's opinion on my neck and say, oh, the reason he's saying this is because Talib is foiling it, right? And remember, at the end of the day, UDP is a UDP is a party that has a long history, right? It's a party that has a long history. It is a party that has been around, and what we've seen the founding members and the former party members used to do is they used to hold each other tightly. They used to hold. There is no strength in division. There's only a weakness in division. So even if you are not in agreement sometimes, even if you don't like what is being said, it is important to maintain decorum and to keep pushing messages of unity. Because who does this help at the end of the day?
The NPP.
The NPP. Yeah. And who is potentially fueling these grievances? The NPP. Do you underrate the strength and power of government? From the NIA to the police to state resources, to the potential of paying insiders, to the potential of having insiders working for them? Because at the end of the day, if UDP is in disagreement, who will benefit? So we should always keep that in mind. That's why I never react. That's why when the talk is too much, the accusations are too much, I just take a step back and watch them to let them calm down.
How do you feel about it? Because sometimes, you know, we're all human.
Right.
I can understand when people from NPP come after you, but when the accusations are coming from your own members, how do you feel? Just like you said, other people can say Yankuba or Rohi or any other person, and nothing happens. But when we say Talib, there's always that thing there. How do you feel when you look at those scenarios to say they cannot even say my name about this, but they can say others?
So basically, like I said, my journey in politics I've grown a thick skin. It's certainly not desirable when people I expect to support me, people I expect to protect me, people I expect to encourage me and to be my comrades in a just fight for the future of Gambia are the people saying these things and attacking me. It's certainly not. It feels like people are stabbing you in the back. I am fighting an enemy in front of me, which I can see because it's an enemy I know and they are marked with a different color. You're wearing my colors and you're stabbing me in the back and trying to weaken me and and you believe that will somehow serve our party. At the end of the day, if I was nothing and had no political support, I am the mayor of KMC and the national organizing secretary of UDP. You certainly need my support when it comes to the campaign and the election. You certainly want me to be part of the campaign, whoever is the candidate. Right? So it's sometimes irrational. And I think sometimes I even suspect, is this really UDP people or is been orchestrated and planned by NPP people to infiltrate and divide UDP people? So basically, I don't like it, but I am mature enough. I have grown a thick skin to the point it's like an annoyance, but it doesn't bother me. I have planned my politics very well in the sense that in my first election, I went on social media. My first time ever, I saw somebody criticize me. He said, one oil company gave Talib dustbins. This oil company is planning to steal the oil of KMC. That's why he gave Talib dustbins to campaign. I said, what dustbins does, what oil does KMC have? And I went online and I responded to that person and I said, you're lying. And that was my biggest regret.
Oh my God.
Because I realized now I was a different figure. From Talib, the private guy, the guy in business, I was now Talib the politician, Talib the potential candidate. And that person who I responded to was so happy that he got on my nerves, that he kept on attacking me for weeks. So I made a conscious decision. I'm not going to have a social media where there's engagement that I can see what people are writing. I'm not going to listen to radio. I'm not going to watch local news. And I will get my reports based on what's relevant from professionals. So they skim the news, they see what is relevant to me, they see what is relevant for Gambia in terms of substance, and they give it to me. So 80%, 90% of the gossip I don't hear. I usually hear from political surrogates, oh, you heard that person said this, but I never have direct contact. Because I need that to focus on my work. Because remember, no matter what politics has given me today, as a national figure, as a person maybe youths aspire to be or are inspired by, as a person that everybody wants to know their next move and what they're up to on a daily basis. My fundamental role, even before as an organizing secretary of UDP, is the mayor of KMC. I am elected to deliver an improvement in the quality of life of people. And I need to focus to be able to deliver that. So this is why I have planned my politics this way. But I emphasize again, inside the UDP, we cannot have enemies. There's no enemies. It's impossible. You may not like me, you may not be friends with me, but you can certainly not be my enemy. And as far as I am in the same party with you, I will never attack you. And I will never respond negatively to you. If I feel annoyed by you, I would rather just keep quiet and wait for a better day where I can say a uniting message. You know, so...
And the other accusation, I'm going to bring all the accusations, because I want you to answer. The other accusation is you surround yourself with people that are non-UDP.
Right.
You know, Talib, when you were elected, you nominated people like my friend MC Cham,
right.
Nene Frida, who were not UDP.
Right.
MC though joined UDP just before he was nominated.
Right.
People like Nene, people like MC, you surround yourself with these people. These are the people that they see you with. They don't see you with the normal, the typical UDP guy. So it's like, you know, you have your own kabudu and you know, you don't associate with the typical UDP guy. And you know, don't fear.
You know who's my best friend in politics?
Who?
You know it.
Kemo Boya?
Ibrahim Adiba.
Ah, yes, Ibrahim. Koko trouble la de.
Right. So who is more UDP than Ibrahim Adiba?
Nobody. Fofla judo.
You know who I hang out with on a daily basis? Karafa Sonko.
Karafa.
Who's more UDP than Karafa Sonko? You know who I talk to every day? Babukar Lopi Jammeh, 1996, original, 100%. The minority of people I deal with are non-UDP, the minority. The majority that I talk to on a daily basis are UDP. The majority you see me with, but you know, when people are they feel that they're your rivals. I mean, even if you dance on water, you know, you're going to jump on that.
Wow.
Wow.
Fit na bi mo suma gaay lañ ko Nene ak MC.
Now they
ñu ne MC ak Nene ñoo bëgg xar UDP. Xara mo ko rek ñoo bëgg xar UDP Nene ak MC.
So basically, am na ko wara wax bi yëpp dafa start bu MC join UDP. There was a video in Dakar.
Yeah.
Ñun ñëtal ñu ñëw wax.
Wow.
Mané leen noppi leen o
Lolo maskin. Video man sa wala ko.
Leen guy, they are planning.
Yo nga ne gaay do nga leen. So men ñu mo ñu ngeen bàyyi leen wax bi ñu.
It's so interesting.
So yeah.
So one thing I want all UDPians to know. Gambia is a very divided country.
Yeah.
And we have to, it's a numbers game, elections and politics. We have to work by numbers. We went through 2021, one of the most painful experiences I have ever had in my life was 2021. If I lost an election, I think a part of me will be relieved. I will not be totally sad. Because I'll say, at least I can just be a militant and still have my freedom of time. Meaning, because being a mayor takes all your time and it takes a big toll on you. So I don't think I would have been devastated if I lost an election. I don't think.
Yeah.
I always said it. I approach elections with no emotion. Suma wine Santa Yala, ma continue suma ligi. Suma winu, at least Santa Yala, ma nopaleko. Right? And I can have time to recalibrate. But when 2021 Ousainou Darboe lost, it was one of the worst feelings I have ever had in my life. I went to his house, I sat, I looked at him, I cried. This is the first time I'm saying that on national television. I sat by him, I looked at him, and saw a rush of emotion. I'm not even that type. I'm not an emotional person who cries.
Yeah.
But that was one of the most hurtful experiences I have ever had. Because of the hope, because of the veracity of the campaign, the excitement and the energy of the people. You could see the youth's eyes. They were so ready for change. They were twinkling. And they felt they had a savior who was coming to change up the game and bring the so desired development we need. And that freedom the youths wanted. So just the 3-4 years non-stop politics. Remember 2016 borough, 2018 local government, 2017 MPs, 2018 local government, then division be held 2019. Then it's been a perpetual non-stop of politics. Push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. And we had so much hope. We had so much confidence. And to be honest, frankly, we felt that we had this.
Yeah. A lot of people felt that.
And when that news came crashing down, it was one of the worst things I have ever experienced in my life. And that brought me to tears, similar to a death in the family. Now, I sit and I analyze the landscape because I am an analytical person. I said, look, based on the ground as it is shaped. Now people will say, okay, illegal registrations, blah, blah, blah. But as far as I'm concerned, whether it's illegal or not, the ground is already shaped.
Yeah.
You can't prevent those people from voting. We need to encourage diversity in our party. We need to encourage and accommodate different views and different colors to get that so desired majority that we need.
Yeah. You did that with your council.
I saw Trump campaigning and he said, too big to rig.
Yes.
He said, I want to win so big, imagine,
so
that it cannot be rigged.
Yeah.
Because he claims his election was rigged.
Yeah.
We UDP, we claim that every day.
Yeah.
No, it was rigged, it was rigged. But what do we do to stop it from being rigged again? We have to have a margin too big to rig. And the way is to attract others. But not just attract others in campaign and in speech and in nehal. We need to make actions that build trust, trust-building exercises. Today, if I tell people, oh, don't worry, when you win, we were going to invite you guys to come to cabinet. We're going to invite you guys to come join us in government, so support us now. They're never going to trust you. But if we can show that we can take 1 or 2 positions and give to people who are not UDP or who will be seen as diverse characters, this is a trust-building exercise. And this is the first time I'm saying this.
You build a coalition around yourself in KM, and I said that, you know, that was very important during your mayoral election.
Because I knew if I didn't, I will lose. I knew, based on a simple majority platform, our councillors, if we campaign well, if we put in the right strategies, a UDP majority will, a UDP base can defeat.
Yeah.
I always say we are the biggest party, but we are not the majority.
Okay.
And I want people to distinguish that.
Okay.
If you look at in terms of loyal party supporters,
You are the biggest.
people who identify as UDP, we are the biggest.
Okay.
We have more loyal supporters than NPP. But when it now comes to Gambians in general, when you look at UDP versus all the rest, they are by far more than us.
Okay. So it's who is able to build a coalition around them.
Now what happens in politics is, if I have 2 more votes than you, right? But there's 50 other people who don't subscribe to any party. Now the competition is not who has the bigger party, it's who can attract the others. So in my mayoral election, I knew that if I did not reach 50,000 votes, I'd be defeated. Because I looked at the historical numbers, and I looked at Ousseynou Dabo's numbers in KMC. And Ousseynou Dabo's numbers is definitely the UDP base in KMC, our entire base. And I looked at Barrow's numbers in KMC. And I saw the gap was so huge. And this is the people they're able to put voters' cards in their hands. So if I did not strategize better, because KMC being a diverse community, I would have lost. So I started right after 2021 to build a different campaign animal that UDP are not used to. But first, after the elections, we have to show proof that, look, we will not only use you for our elections and get what we get and dump you, but we will actually
govern with you.
Govern with you. So tomorrow when we need you, we can get you.
Yeah.
So politics is great to have passion.
Yeah.
It's great to have desire and strength and ferocity, but most important, more important than your bicep is your brain. You have to strategize.
Do you think
strategy and effort?
Do you think going to 2026 that is something UDP should look at, trying to build a coalition around?
Of course, and as far as I'm organizing secretary, we are going to keep pushing that.
Okay.
Right? And I think the party leader understands that. I think most people now are understanding it.
That.
We must learn from the lessons of past elections. Now in the Gambia, what do we have? We have a disoriented youth. We have an unhappy and poor population, starving population. We have many people who silently regret voting for the NPP government. But we must also change our strategies so they don't feel like, oh, UDP isolated me, or UDP is not the party for me, and fall in the same trap of voting for the incumbent again. Right? People are definitely not happy. By choice, they will not go and vote for NPP. I can tell you that for free. But if they don't have anywhere to go, the money starts pumping out, the ambience, people can go.
They can switch
back to their old habits. So we have to change, and I believe we will change.
You will change.
Right? It's not going to be easy. Change is never easy, especially such strong and passionate supporters. You know, UDP, that's why swing tear doing that by. You know, then they don't be
Chinese or
that's why you love them. Just like one thing, even when I was welcoming the PA, you know, I was the second star there. You know, Pa was the superstar, there. So a lot of people were coming to hug me and cheer me and stuff like that. And one guy just came. He held my hand. He nearly broke my hand. He said, "Talib, we love you. Never leave us. Never leave us. We love you." I said, "Who told you I'm leaving you?"
And this is the thing, Talib. You mentioned something I want to come, because I want us to clear all of these things. You mentioned something, when Dawa lost, when you went to see him, you were so emotional. You said you cried, right? This is the first time we're hearing that. But you took a break from politics. And a lot of people were not happy with you for that, right? A lot of people took break, and I said this to somebody. I said, look, the only people that were talking during that time is Mamadou Sabali and Ibrahim Diba. These were the only people that were talking. Everybody went to coma. I remember my father. My father is UDP. Mayoral election, the next election, I said, go to vote. He refused. He refused. He didn't believe. But that break that you took was very noticeable. A lot of people said it cost KMC some seats during the National Assembly election. People said if you had brought your star power during the National Assembly election, UDP would have got more. If you had bring in what you had done in the presidential, we know what you guys have done in presidential, you know, you might have even gotten more seats than, so a lot of people were angry with you on that, and they still hold that against you in the party. I know people who hold that against you.
I don't think they were angry with me. I think these are cheap shots. Right? So no matter how great you do, no matter what amazing things you do, there'll always be the critics. And especially in my case, they keep looking for faults. You know, I can do an amazing thing. During 2021, those people who say I took a break, they never came to me 2021 and say, Talib, you did an amazing job. They did not. 2021, everybody knew the amount of work I put as organizing secretary. For 2 years straight, non-stop, resources, energy, time, meticulous planning. On the ground, leaving my work at KMC, being every inch of the way, directing the effort. If anybody had a toll past Usainu Dabo, I believe it was me. In terms of the work and energy and effort, I put everything into that election. Emotional, psychological, physical, financial. The Congress alone we held in 2020, I raised a $10 million. And that was what was supposed to spearhead the election, the election campaign. But some of these characters that you may hear say this, ask them if after all that effort, they came to me and said, great job. Some of them were actually blaming me for the loss. For party leaders' loss.
Wow.
Nobody said thank you for the sacrifice, the effort. But like I said, I don't watch those people. What I appreciated the most, and I will never forget it, party leader not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, in public and in private, he told me, Talib, this is the best campaign I have ever had. This is the best organizing I have ever seen, both in public and in private. Now, after this such loss, 2 years I'm dedicated to this, I'm killing myself. I talked to Ibrahim Diba. I said, boy, I am psychologically strained. I am tired. I am physically tired. I have to now focus a little bit on KMC. My election is coming up. I have not done a lot of work because of this election. We are going on tour. We are investing our time and energy. Now I have to also come back to the people of KMC because remember, I am no ordinary organizing secretary. I am a mayor of one of the most complex regions in KMC. And frankly, at the election period, I have neglected my work and my people. So forgive me if I want to now come and concentrate a bit of KMC and allow my deputy organizing secretary to do some of the work. If I have put all that time and resource and energy and everything for 2021, and I could not make party leader win, Why would you say I can do that and make our MPs win? I think it's an unfair statement. And I bet you, if I even put the same energy there, and we had the same result, they will still blame me for the loss of the 3 NAMs. So what I'm realizing in politics, bañ du dee musa buga, daf dee maslaha rek.
Yeah.
You know? So these critics, they never relent. Is this or that? Is this or that? And they are relentless. They never stop. So I've learned to ignore them. Because when people talk, look at their caliber and who they are and what they mean to you and the party. Right? But you can never go through life and never have critics. Prophet Bisa amna ñuko wedi.
Yeah.
Right? So who am I, Talib Bensouda, to say I will not have critics inside and outside of UDP? But sometimes I wonder, is it because I'm the young guy, or they feel like, oh, he is too fast, we should stop him, or I don't know. Because sometimes you look at outside of UDP, young guys, it's mostly young guys. Pay attention to most of the harshest critics. It's mostly young guys.
Yeah.
Right? And young guys, we should be encouraging each other.
Each other, yeah.
Supporting each other so all of us can grow.
Yeah.
But most of the people who are criticizing passionately, always on my case, always talking about me, I never talk about them, are all young guys. So sometimes I wonder, is it jealousy? Is it fear? Is it insecurity? Because I have no problem.
Is it because
if you are competing
in less than 10 years, you have gotten this position to the point where people are asking, can he be our president? I see a lot of people saying Talib for president. So is it because of that too?
It can be a whole lot of things. But why is it so ferocious when it comes to Talib? So I basically think it's a combination of all of these things, but it's unfortunate. All right? If I am a young guy, I have come in, I am doing work that a lot of people doubted. How can this guy, 29, come be the mayor of one of the most complex regions, takes up this big administration? Maybe many expected me to fail and they would laugh at me. And all of a sudden, he's doing well. We cannot accept this. So now we're going to attack him every day. So some people, I'm living in their mind rent-free.
Yes.
Rent-free.
Rent-free.
Every day they're on talking about me and I don't talk about them. And the most interesting part, when I meet them in public, oh, Talib, mayor. I'm like, look at this guy.
Like seriously?
Seriously. Even yesterday, MVP, UDP. Talib. When you see them in public, I see them from afar, they start running towards me. Gambia dafa hat. Deka bu hat la. Moto dafa jara moytu. We should be very careful in this country because you will bump into people at naming ceremonies. When I said in Yankuba Koli's funeral, God bless his soul, that I am related to his wife, you could hear, oh my God, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Yankuba Koli's wife, Fat Susu, her father, Mr. Master Drame, okay, is the same, is my mom's uncle. Fan Master Susu. Okay. So when we announced that at the funeral, everybody was shocked. So deka bi dafa hat. So dañu wara jara moytu wara ñoo ñaaw ñorta be di wax things yu nga xamne ëlëk da nga gis nit ki nga rus. So my advice is, young guys, let's support each other. We can compete on honesty, on truth, on legitimacy, but trying to always lie about somebody, in it. Is some people, does this guy have a psychological problem? I think if you diagnose some of them, I think they have mental issues. Because every day, non-stop. Talib. Oh man.
I see somebody, do not because he's a cute teddy bear. That's why I just saw that, Binat said that. But finally, I mean, interesting conversation. We at 9 o'clock. Oh my God. But finally, you know, you said you are not running for another term in KM. I'm saying this. I want my brother to be the next KM mayor.
Who's your brother?
KM Boya. Man la ene man. But you know, one buying of a law hamne whoever your party brings, that dina purmumuna win. And secondly, Mayor, you said if Dabo is running, you will not compete him.
Certainly not.
Now, if Dabo decides to run 2026, what happens to Lord Mayor Talib Bensouda?
Well, look, if Dabo applies to be the party flag bearer,
Yeah.
certainly I will not apply.
Okay.
Right? So I'm not saying whether I will apply or not in general, right?
Okay.
But it's just one of those things,
Yeah.
right? His nature in UDP.
Yeah.
Right? So if Dabo decides to apply, I will not apply. Now, if he decides not to apply, then that's a process, and everybody will determine. And I'm telling you.
You will apply then? If that would,
well, I'm not going to say it, but what I'm going to say.
No, let me come here. If Dabo says, I'm not running, I decided, because he told me he will not announce that now, he has to consult with family.
Exactly. So
if he decides not to run, will you apply?
Wait, when the time comes, we'll cross that bridge. It's too
That
early.
is too diplomatic.
Well, you
know very well.
How many things can happen now until then, right? So we have an ideas now, but every politician knows you have to be wise enough to not say what you think you're going to do until you know what you're going to do, right? So basically, what I will say is, if Dabo does not apply, there are 100 people that will apply, right? Some of the people, maybe MC Cham will apply. Right. So basically, I think what's most important for the party right now, let's avoid speculation. Let's work together and hold government accountable. Let's keep pushing. Gis nga ku wara nek president, yalla xam nako be pare. True ku nek da nga play sa cards, nga def sa carte, etc. One thing more important than just buga nek president is let the party unite. Let the party develop very sound programs as to what they are going to do in government. So it's not just about I want to govern, but what are you going to do when you govern? Because UDP, if we have another presidency and we don't manage it well, we will not have a presidency again for a very long time. Right? So we have to design good policies. And it's a party that's such that it has so much intellectual capacity. So much people who are willing to lead and able to lead, that if we manage, play smart, and just enter and win, we could rule this country for a very, very, very long time. We will have 2-term limits. Every president will come do 2 terms, like an ANC or even better, other parties. And then everybody could have a chance. But if we focus too much on infighting, trying to undercut each other, we don't get this one. Guess what? Kemo Bonyang will not be able to win. Your candidate will not be able to win in KMC. So the reason why a lot of us could win as brand new faces on our first try,
it was because
it was on a party ticket. The party made us win. Not our individual merit, because people did not know us. But some of that perception that we have incumbency advantage, we are the new government of the day, helped us win. So basically, if we are to now rule Gambia, and we want to rule it wholly, we want to win all the councils, we want to win as much parliamentary seats, but certainly have a super majority, because that's what we will need to put in the ambitious policies and programs. We need to play smart in this presidency, and it starts with unity.
To that final message, to that old man in Nyomi, in Basse, in Lamen Mandina Ring, who says, Talib Bekela Barodoleti, Ninga president, Ninga Ken candidate to 2026, Abekela Neo Barodolta, Benjam Falala, Patio Bulalale. You know, what do you say to those people? Because Hamas also Lingoa, Ikafoko, I don't know, this proverb that they say.
They have many proverbs.
So if something happens to you, you know, you are cautious going into that. And this is the reason perception is Talib is going to be another Barrow. What do you say to that guy? That is 6 million begin in the Bible next time.
So that is not a perception. That is a well-planned propaganda campaign or smear campaign against me. I am by no means, by any metric, like President Barrow. We don't have the same character. We don't have the same background. Amuñ the same jar. And man suma doon Jamfa du nekk tey. And do make a tiny president. Remember, I'm mayor for 7 years.
Yeah.
Do I lack offers? Certainly not. Do I lack opportunities if I cross carpet? Certainly not. I will not come here and say, Li ma offer,
I know we discussed that during the campaign time, yeah.
But I could be one of the top guys in this government if I desired and if I wanted it. I certainly did not lack the opportunities because there was many opportunities to negotiate. There was many opportunities to place myself if government and power is only what I'm interested in. But what I value most, more than anything in this world, is my integrity. Because the only way I could live with myself is self-respect. Mota man lu bari nit duma fa japp and lu bari ma dey avoid. Mota ñu dey wax ne sax Talib doesn't like, some people say, man, I don't like Talib's style because he's too diplomatic. I want him to fight. Because I don't want to, I respect myself more than anybody in this world.
Yeah.
I don't want the day to come where I don't respect myself anymore. So, du man nangu nit feka ma fu nga xamne ma ngi tesante o ma ngi wax no
unnecessary stuff, yeah.
Li place la. And politics time la. Do religion is just a platform where you are trying to make a positive difference in your country. So jaralud ma pour ma lose my integrity just because I want that position. So my answer to that old man is one, you're suffering from a targeted virus, which is a propaganda campaign against Talib. That's the first. Two, if I was to go, I would have gone. I would have gone before 2021. Because that would have been the best times with the best offers, with the best positions. And I would have built myself to now maybe chow bi sax time bi du do nekk UDP bir NPP la doon nekk Talib dafa bëgg a lead swing party. So basically kenn du ñëw nekk two-term mayor, struggle as an opposition mayor, them through commission of inquiry, fight through all these things just because dafa bëgg a xaar ba potentially when UDP jël ko president potentially mu Jamfa. It makes absolutely no sense. Jamfakat la rek. Do they hard time? Si nit ki la neka. Opportunity la day hard. When the opportunity comes and you want to switch sides, you switch sides. But for me, I always say I'm guided by my integrity and my principles. And Mota, I never talk in certain terms. I say as far as it is in line with my principles, it is in line with my integrity, it is in line with my beliefs, and it's the best thing for the Gambia, I will be in this party. That's always what I say. And I never mince my words, no matter who it is. And I always say, in my ranking of priorities, my hierarchy of priorities, Gambia will always come first, before even my party. Because the reason I'm in my party is for the sake of Gambia. Then second, my party comes. Because it is the reason I am who I am to be able to do what I'm doing. Then lastly, my individual desires come. So what is best for Gambia will override what is best for my party. What is best for my party will override what is best for me and my selfish interests, right? But these things need to be aligned.
Oh. Yeah. What an answer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always great having you on the show.
Yes.
Be on the controversies. I have controversy. I mean, be on the controversy. Be more, at least be on the controversy.
Right.
But thank you so much, and I want to wish Nene a happy belated birthday.
Happy birthday, Nene.
It was her birthday.
She came to my office fully dressed in yellow.
Nene.
Well, on her birthday.
Nene, can you
visit party leader cross
No, we know Nene mu cross Nene. Nene is like that person is everywhere. She's the human rights defender, the fighter for every cause, you know. So every day
you go
No. But thank you. Happy birthday, Nene. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Nene Mungsi police stations, Nene Mungsi courthouse,
she likes
Nene Munge defend people. Maneko, where do you get this energy? Man Nene Lade or Mode police station, she does this and she has a passion passion for it, you know, and
Absolutely.
thank you so much for all you do. And also, Juka, happy birthday, Juka. Yesterday was Juka's birthday too.
Oh, wow.
She's watching
Happy
also.
birthday,
Happy birthday, Juka. Mom baro rek. Juka bayi baro. Juka 24/7 si baro.
Wow.
Mom si baro rek.
Juka mom foog nga set up meeting ma mom.
Mune baro must go. Yo gisula baro must go 2026 page bi.
Mom baro must go la.
Tuwa.
Man dama foog ne mu ngi ci baro. Nga support.
Mom si kaw baro la de nekk. Baro must go 2026. Mom si yoyu la bokk. But yeah, I have a lot of people that are watching here. I have my brother Bob Toure and
Hey Bob, suma xarit la.
Waaw ñu ne sa camp la nekk nag.
Oh, come
Boobu ñu ne Bob capital bi.
Am nga man two things. So nataaloo man. Wala ñu jabo am dañu wone jox na la 500,000 wala yaay suma camp.
Ñu ne Bob sa camp la nekk. Waaye man moom dinaa ñëw pour ñu négocier contrat bi xam nga yeah, PR company contract bi. I have to come because li ma accuse kañ mën naa si lekk xaalis nag. Man Pastef la de boobu dama ko dee claim. But honestly, it was a great show. Thank you so much for coming. I think a lot of people are watching and we are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Tey moom YouTube moo ñu win. YouTube is almost 1,000 plus, so a lot of people are watching on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. Thank you so much for coming and we will have you certainly. Xam naa ne soo demee si commission boo fa jógee nga ñëw fi ñu waxtaan. Di nga dem.
Suñu ma ooyee naa dem bi.
Check it.
Man télé rek politicien ak télé. Opportunity to be on TV.
I know, but we will definitely, you know, after that we will definitely have you back on the show. And thank you so much. And until we come your way again, to my technical team, sorry we took 3 hours plus, but I think it was worth it. Charles, more 4 hours. Oh my God, 4 hours.
It was like 30 minutes.
Oh my God, it felt like 30 minutes, right? Because the conversation was interesting. Yeah. And a lot of people said this is high-level conversation. They were a translator, a conversation. But it was very interesting. It was a very interesting conversation. Man Kemo moy sama candidate. Man dama ko de wa dindi mansa. Man Kemo moy sama candidate. Kemo su nekké candidate, I will campaign for him. Because I feel like, you know, Kemo is very mature. He is very level-headed. You know, when you listen to Kemo, when he speaks, like, it moves me. You know, when I like young people, they're good. He's super smart. And I claim it. Kemo is my candidate for KM. Buko UDP tahawlu nak dina hayende. Ko en fa tah.
Dañ win presidential.
Yena ham bobu mom lu len neex ngeen def waye man KM dal Kemo lay jël. But until we come here, thank you to the technical team and all of you watching on Facebook and YouTube. Until we come your way again, good night to you. See you next week. Bye-bye.
We are happy to announce the launch of our new logo. We have evolved since our incorporation in 1997, and it is time to refresh our new look to reflect who we are today. Before I reveal our new look, however, walk with me while I take you through our journey of the last 25 years. Trust Bank was incorporated on July 3rd, 1997 and began operations on October 1st, 1997. Following the collapse of the parent company of its predecessor, Meridian, the CBG stepped in and recapitalized the bank and held the shares in trust, thus the name Trust Bank. In 1999, the first investors who responded to the IPO and paid $1.50 per share received their maiden dividend of 50 bututs per share. In 2000, the bank fully paid back its investment by declaring another dividend of $1.20 bututs per share, making it a cumulative dividend per share of $1.70, which was 20 bututs above the purchase price. Between 2002 to date, share capital has increased from $27 million to $200 million, indicating that the bank has grown organically by plowing back profits to increase capital, while at the same time paying dividends to shareholders. The bank was listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange in November 2002, being the first ever cross-border listing in the sub-region. Now let's talk about awards. The bank was awarded the insignia of the National Order of the Republic of the Gambia, ORG, in the year 2010 by His Excellency the President of the Republic of create the kind of company that delivers quality services and innovative products with an inspired team dedicated to serving our customers, our environment, and our communities at large in the most caring manner. We remain fully committed to delivering excellent services to each of our stakeholders, customers, employees, shareholders, and partners. So, we remain true to who we have always been. As we look forward to greater achievements, we are rebranding to reflect who we are today and the future that we inspire. Our new logo has been designed to visually demonstrate our Gambian heritage and the sophisticated nature of the bank. We are moving away from the navy and gold-colored parallelogram-shaped logo to our baobab tree with a rising sun in the background. The striking outline of a baobab tree at sunrise is a familiar sight to anyone who has spent time in the Gambia. Our new logo and visual identity are inspired by our core values and spirit of being a pioneer in providing a unique banking experience. It is a completely new look that better matches the transformation we have made as a company. But we remain your trust bank. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to present to you our new logo and corporate identity.